It's Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. Good evening, and welcome to the daily happenings inside our federal machine. This is Spathon, and it's time to plunge into the swamp to see what happened today. Tulsi Gabbard announced that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence will be reducing its office from 2,000 employees down to 1,300. Tulsi wants to pivot to an elite workforce. Bed Bath & Beyond, they announced that they will not return a single store to California because the state makes it impossible for any business to grow and thrive in California. Gavin Newsom, he gives a triggering response. We'll check that out. FBI Director Cash Patel, he announced the capture of one of FBI's top 10 most wanted criminals, and she will face justice. Since Trump ordered the federal takeover of Washington, D.C., there has been a 35% drop in violent crime and a 50% drop in robberies. As usual, Democrats are accusing Trump of gutting the economy, skyrocketing prices due to tariffs, cutting Medicare and Medicaid, and we'll have a look at all their propaganda from today. Also, Cracker Barrel, they announced the restaurant's logo change for the first time in 47 years, and good God, it looks, well, probably exactly how you would expect it to look. And also, the White House officially joins TikTok. So if you're stuck in the endless cycle of the platform, maybe you'll get to see the White House on there occasionally. And we also got a new ambassador to the European Union. Congratulations to Andy Puzder. We'll take a look at that as well. And there's lots more to dig through, so I guess we'll just go ahead and dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. So this one comes from JD Vance. That's where I'm going to start this episode off on. So JD Vance, the vice president, of course, he said in just the past 9 days, we've seen a 35% reduction in violent crime and a 50% reduction in robberies because of President Trump's leadership. Of course, this is in reference to Washington, D.C. and the federal takeover of the District of Columbia, which Democrats are so thrilled about. They just absolutely love this initiative. I mean, obviously I'm being sarcastic. But anyway, he said, I'm glad I could stop by a Union Station and thank the countless National Guardsmen busting their asses to clean up our nation's capital. Let's check this out.
Law and order to communities, you've just got to have the political willpower to do it.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Uh-oh. Oh, my God. Technical difficulties, folks. Technical difficulties. I was actually doing a sound check just before the episode. My stupid ass didn't go back to the beginning. My apologies. Let's try this one again.
In the past 9 days, we've seen a 35% reduction in violent crime. We've seen over a 50% reduction in robberies. We are seeing really substantial effects because these guys are busting their ass. So I want to come here, highlight what they're doing, say thank you in person, obviously pass out a few burgers, but most of all, just send a message to the American people. Look, we don't have to live like this. We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and by disorder and by chaos. You can actually do stuff. You can actually bring law and order to communities. You've just got to have the political willpower to do it.
Yeah, and by do stuff, he means you can actually go to a restaurant now. You can actually go to the park now. You can actually go out and enjoy your day. You can walk around and look at the monuments and the statues, the memorials, maybe even go to the Smithsonian Museum, the woke Smithsonian Museum. And yeah, you could have a good time, man. You can tour around all of our federal buildings. It's free. Washington, D.C., it's all free. Except for subways and obviously everything else except just admission into our federal buildings. But yeah, that's nice, man. It's nice that they're finally getting D.C. back under control. All right, so let's go to Caroline Leavitt. While Democrats continue to coddle violent criminals, President Trump and this administration are focused on putting them behind bars and unapologetically standing up for the safety of law-abiding American citizens.
Despite fake narratives from the media, again, a significant number of the arrests have been in high-crime areas of D.C.
High-crime areas.
In fact, nearly half of all of the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in Wards 7 and 8. The two wards that have the highest number of violent crime, as well as homicides and assaults with dangerous weapons last year. So while Democrats continue to coddle violent criminals, President Trump and this administration are focused on putting them behind bars and unapologetically standing up for the safety of law-abiding American citizens and the
Amen, man. And the Democrats are just seething. They're so mad because they don't want the American people to see that the Trump administration is actually extremely effective at pretty much everything they've done so far. They really don't want that to happen because they don't want their constituency to turn on them, because the Democratic Party, they're kind of in disarray right now. They don't really have any real leadership. There's a lot of problems going on, and that's why they're desperately clinging on to mail-in voting, and they're pushing back heavily against that. And pretty much anything at all that you could think of that the Trump administration is doing right now, they are hardcore pushing back against it. It's pretty unbelievable. So, all right. So from the FBI director, Cash Patel, breaking: FBI has arrested another top 10 most wanted fugitive, Cindy Rodriguez Singh. Singh is wanted on state charges of killing her 6-year-old son. Good grief. She will face charges of unlawful flight to avoid prosecution and capital murder of a person under 10 years of age. Yeah, give her the death penalty. In March of 2023, authorities in Everman, or Everman? Yeah, Everman or Everman? I don't know. I'm not from Texas, can you tell? They conducted a welfare search for Singh's child after he had not been seen since October of 2022. Singh allegedly lied to authorities about his whereabouts and then 2 days later boarded a flight to India, and we believe has not been back to the United States since. Singh was charged in October of 2023 in the District Court of Tarrant County, Fort Worth, Texas, and in November, authorities issued a federal arrest warrant for the charge of unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. This is the fourth 10 most wanted fugitive arrested in the last 7 months. That's a credit to tremendous field work, law enforcement partners, intelligence operatives, and an administration who is letting good cops do their jobs, finally. Yeah, because I don't know how many top 10 criminals that the FBI arrested under Biden in the entire 4 years, but I'll just take a wild guess and assume it's probably less than 4. Anyway, thanks to our local partners in Texas, where this case originated, the Justice Department, as well as partners in India for the coordinating, and also FBI Dallas and New York FBI, they did tremendous work too. So there's her flyer. She's been captured. It's over. Busted. You're facing capital murder. And let's hope that they carry that to the fullest extent that they possibly can. I wonder if anybody cashed in on that $250,000 reward. Not sure. They didn't mention that, so maybe. Was there an article? No, there wasn't an article, right? Yeah. Anytime there's an article, I like to, at the bare minimum, click on it so I can make it available to you down in the description. Anything I click on article-wise, it's always down in the description if you want to check out any of those articles, because I don't usually have time to read the entire thing. I try to read as much as I can before I just kind of have to limit myself and move on to the next. Otherwise, some of these episodes will go on for like 4 hours, and I can't do 4 hours. I just can't, because I already work 40 hours a week. But anyway, all right, so let's move on to Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator. Every last penny of U.S. tax money must, without exception, be treated as precious gold that cannot ever, in any circumstance, be wasted.
I think that the American public, they're fed up with the bullshit.
Right.
And they want people in government to fight for them, to be a good steward of their tax dollars. And they don't want to get gaslit by congressional Democrats and members of the media like the New York Times and Washington Post and Politico to lie to them.
They're getting gaslit by everybody.
The fact that they would dig in deeper in wanting to demand that we light billions of dollars on fire pisses off
all of them.
American public. And they don't want us to just sit here and play nice and tolerate it. If we have the facts on our side, why should we have any amount of apology or regret for the actions we're taking on behalf of the American taxpayer?
Now, look, I'll give this Trump administration some credit because it's only been 7 months, basically, since Trump came back into office. So we still have a lot of time left in his administration. I just hope that they cut enough to where we start to see a little bit of movement downward as far as spending, because we're spending more money. The federal government is spending more money than they're receiving in tax money across the board, which is only going to add to the national debt forever. And we can't do that. It's unsustainable. That is, and there's way too much waste. Way too much. Way too much. 5 million federal employees. Absolutely insanity. And speaking of which, that's a good segue, because we got this from DNI Tulsi Gabbard herself. Today, I am launching DNI 2.0, the first step toward bringing about transformational change that is based on cutting bloated bureaucracy, rooting out deep state actors, and restoring mission focus. When implementation is complete, ODNI will be more agile, efficient, and effective, reducing our organization by more than 40%, saving taxpayers $700 million per year. That is awesome. So hold on, just give me just 1 second. Trying to make little adjustments as I go here. All right, still working on the microphone. I don't know, man. I'm doing the best I can, at least for right now. The weekend's coming up, so I'm gonna have another 2 full days worth of trying to get this microphone working. Hopefully it's not acting up. I guess that's as far as I could say. God knows, really. I did all the tests. I worked on this for like 2 hours before I started. That's why I'm starting at 8 o'clock. I'd rather start every episode at 6, but I don't know. One day I'll get there. I'll get there one day. So this is the news release that Tulsi Gabbard's office put out for immediate release. ODNI news release number 24-25, August 20th of 2025. DNI Gabbard launches ODNI 2.0, reducing bloat by over 40% and saving taxpayers $700 million a year. On Wednesday, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard announced a long overdue transformation of the Office of Director of National Intelligence to refocus on executing its core national security mission with integrity in the most agile, effective, and efficient way. This will reduce ODNI by over 40% by the end of fiscal year 2025 and save taxpayers over $700 million per year and better enable ODNI to focus on fulfilling its critical role of serving as the central hub for intelligence integration, strategic guidance, and oversight over the intelligence community. ODNI was created after the horrific Islamist terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, exposed systemic failures across the intelligence community. Its purpose was to integrate intelligence from and provide oversight over all IC elements, currently 18, in order to ensure the intelligence provided to the president and policymakers is timely, accurate, and apolitical. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they dropped the ball, because the FBI absolutely knew that there were very sketchy guys from Saudi Arabia, wasn't it? Like a month before September 11th happened, and they were down in Sarasota learning how to fly planes, and apparently the FBI kind of had an eye on them, but it still happened anyway. That's probably where a lot of the conspiracy-minded people start to question whether if the government was involved or not, because I don't know, man. The FBI has a history of shit like that. It's like Nicholas Cruz, the mass shooter in Parkland, Florida, back in 2017. Was that on Valentine's Day, I think? There were 2 separate students that contacted the FBI months before he even carried that out, and essentially the only message that they got in return was, "Okay, duly noted. We'll look into it." And obviously they didn't. But anyway, okay, so I'm going to keep on reading here. So unfortunately, 2 decades later, ODNI has fallen short in fulfilling its mandate. Over the last 20 years, ODNI has become bloated and inefficient, and the intelligence community is rife with abuse of power, unauthorized leaks of classified intelligence, and politicized weaponization of intelligence. Yeah, not just in the intelligence community, but also members of Congress, such as Adam Schiff. And, who's the other one? Eric Swallowswell, that was another one, where apparently a lot of intel just mysteriously gets leaked from their offices somehow. So anyway, ODNI and the IC must make serious changes to fulfill its responsibility to the American people and the U.S. Constitution by focusing on our core mission, find the truth, and provide objective, unbiased, timely intelligence to the president and policymakers. Ending the weaponization of intelligence and holding bad actors accountable are essential to begin to earn the American people's trust, which has long been eroded. Under President Trump's leadership, ODNI 2.0 is the start of a new era focused on serving our country, fulfilling our core national security mission with excellence, always grounded in the U.S. Constitution, and ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. ODNI 2.0 eliminates redundant missions, functions, and personnel, and makes critical investments in areas that support the president's national intelligence priorities and focuses on rebuilding trust, exposing politicization and weaponization of intelligence, holding bad actors accountable, saving American tax dollars, and focusing on our core mission, which is protecting the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. And at the bottom it says DNI Gabbard will post updates on X at DNI Gabbard and Truth Social at DNI Tulsi Gabbard. So there you have it, man. And this isn't it. There's actually a couple more because she's got the little thread icon or emoji right there. So there's a little bit more information, unless it just elaborates on what the letter says. And if that's the case, then I don't have to read anymore because I just read the whole letter. Okay, yeah, it actually does. Yeah. Yep, for too long. Yep, it's all in the letter. All right. Yep, it's all in the letter, word for word. So they're also making critical investments in POTUS's national intelligence priorities. I'm not sure if that was mentioned in there or not. But yeah, anyway, good stuff, man. Really good stuff. What the hell is that? Latest investigation has uncovered evidence that major corporations, including Goldman Sachs, Fidelity, Bank of America, and Universal Music Group, have funneled millions of dollars to the Vera Institute of Justice, an organization that monitors federal immigration enforcement and circulates that information to help illegal immigrants evade deportation, according to documents reviewed by ONG and multiple sources familiar with the matter. I don't know. Never heard of it, but it's from James O'Keefe. I mean, that dude is a rock-solid journalist. Pretty much everything he gets his hands on, it's just like absolute bombshell after bombshell. He's exposed a lot of government corruption, man. If you've never heard of James O'Keefe, holy crap, do you have a homework assignment? Yeah, you definitely got to go and check out some of his work. That dude is a really hard worker, just constantly going. And talk about sacrifice, man. That dude has sacrificed so much stuff. He's been raided by the FBI, too, under the Biden administration, of course. Because I believe his was raided because he apparently, and I don't remember him saying this, but I think he got his hands on Joe Biden's daughter's diary. And he was talking about releasing information in there because apparently there was childhood abuse, things like that. I won't get into detail because I don't know 100% for sure, but I believe that's what the reason was for his house getting raided by the FBI, by the feds. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and move on to this post here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we're good. So from Secretary Doug Burgum, the saying has always been, knowledge is power, but with artificial intelligence, power is knowledge. And that's what I keep saying. Artificial intelligence is very, very taxing on the electrical grid, and they are building so much AI infrastructure to keep ahead of China. It is crazy. So let's hear what he has to say. It's only about 21 seconds.
We're in a battle right now for AI supremacy with China, and that's really a battle of who can generate the most electricity. The saying always was for most of my lifetime that knowledge was power, but now when you can take a kilowatt of electricity and turn it into intelligence, it actually flips it around the other way. Power is knowledge.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? Just the way you put it. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, the more electricity you can feed AI, I mean, as long as the chipsets and all the computing power can keep up with it, then yeah, that's absolutely the case. And yeah, we'll just have to see how things go with AI. I mean, so far, I think we're going to stay ahead of China. We're developing chips, and yeah, we're selling AI chips to China, but the chips we're selling to them are like 5 years old. It's not brand new chips. It's not cutting edge chips that we're going to be providing them. It's essentially going to keep them 5 years behind us if they keep depending on us for chips for AI. So, yep, rapidly evolving, and it's just so like the wind turbines and shit. It's so ridiculous to think, and honestly, how far the Democrats put us behind with regard to the potential that we have for AI development, because we don't have the electric grid we need for AI. We don't. We really don't. For the amount of AI infrastructure they want to build out, we're going to have to really ramp up our electrical production to an absurd degree. And I think before we get there, I have a feeling our electricity bills are going to be going up probably substantially, because it's going to be weighing on the power grid. I mean, I hope not. Hopefully the corporations who are running AI, they're going to have to pay an added premium, I would hope, which hopefully the government will take and build more electrical infrastructure, build nuclear power plants and things like that. Hopefully. All right, so from Rapid Response 47, Vice President, he gives a quote, but he's going to say the quote right here, so I'm just going to play it.
I don't know why Democrats seem to love public disorder and chaos almost as a political ideology.
They do.
And I think that
because they're in a
part
cult.
of what's going on is Democrats have gotten so divorced from the communities that they allegedly serve, that they don't realize the gross majority of residents in D.C., they want to walk through Union Station and just have a bite to eat or enjoy the space with their families. They don't realize that so many people have been absolutely terrorized by Democrat crime policies, and so maybe they just don't make the connection between what Gavin Newsom says and the fact that places like D.C. or Los Angeles have some of the highest murder rates in the world.
Yeah, and who the fuck wants to live in a major city that otherwise looks like a nice city? At least once upon a time it did. I mean, I went to L.A. back in 2014, and it was a pretty nice experience because my sister and my dad lived out there for a while, and it was great. It was nice. There wasn't homeless all over the place, at least not where I was. I mean, my sister, she lived in Koreatown. My dad lived out in Riverside. So I went and saw both of them. I stayed with my sister for a couple of weeks, and it was great, man. Koreatown was awesome. It was just like right in the middle of everything. It was great. Now, doesn't really seem the case. And D.C., I visited in 2015, the only time I ever been there. I only went for a weekend. There was like some cherry blossom run going on that I was there for. And it was also a nice experience. And it wasn't crime-ridden, at least in the areas where I was. And that's, look, if you live in any of these cities, how could you argue like on behalf of the criminals or on behalf of the fudged up crime rates? And why would you have a problem other than them just basically brainwashing everybody into believing that this is Trump's Gestapo and this is the alt-right taking over the city? It's a soft coup. It's a new insurrection. I'm surprised they're not throwing that shit out right now. I'm sure they're probably on their way to doing it. But at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want to be able to walk out of their house and walk down the street, maybe stop by a corner coffee shop and not have to constantly look over their shoulder, just worried about getting either mugged or even potentially carjacked when they stop at a red light. I don't know. All right, so Rapid Response 47. Here's another one from J.D. Vance. We'll just play this one as well. I'm sure he's got another banger here to share with us.
Dropped in D.C. 35% in 9
days. 35%.
Robberies in D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days. And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's fundamentally a question of political will. If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make even cities like D.C. safe again. And that's what we're demonstrating. And I hope that the American people take an important lesson from this, because obviously D.C. is a federal city, New York, L.A., these places are not. I hope the American people just recognize that you don't have to live with lawlessness. You don't have to live with third world murder rates. If you just take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live.
Dude, I think, honestly, I think the Democrats, they just want their constituency to be preoccupied with crime, constantly worried about crime. That way they're not paying so closely attention to politics. They've pretty much turned these cities into trauma factories where if you get robbed, now you're traumatized. Now you have to go see therapists. Now you have to start taking medication. So now that's benefiting Big Pharma. It just, if you look at it, I guess from a 30,000-foot view, there's probably quite a lot you could really connect together and start to see the real picture as to why they're really wanting to do this shit. Other than Orange Man bad. Maybe it's just that simple. Maybe it's just Orange Man bad and that's it. They're like, fuck that. We're going to make crime as bad as it could possibly be because, fuck everybody. Maybe. All right, here's one more.
It was like 1 in the morning Moscow time, and they had no anticipation. So we're actually in the east wing of the White House, and the president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now.
Like,
and I think
11 hours ahead, 10 hours
President Trump's leadership is he cuts through the BS of some of these diplomatic protocols and just says, I'm going to get things done. If I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody.
Well, dude, he's the president.
You have a lot of the Europeans who are saying, no, there needs to be proper, vetting, and the teams have to prepare the phone call and blah, 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 blah. And the president was like, no.
Well, yeah, because then they'll start to realize that these jobs are completely useless, that these people just cut out that position and you're going to save like $150,000 a year. And you could do that times, 1,000? There's probably thousands of employees that just exist because there's this ridiculous bureaucratic just chain of nonsense. And Trump's like, fuck that. I'm just going to give him a call. I mean, what the hell, dude? I got their red phone. It's right here on my desk. I can call anybody in the world with this damn thing.
I want to talk.
I can even launch nukes with it.
The guy, and I think that kind of no holds barred, no BS diplomacy is part of the reason why we've made the progress we have. And we've made a lot of progress, Laura. who knows what's going to happen?
Oh, absolutely.
The president tells me this all the time. You can never say with certainty what the outcome in this situation is going to be. But we now have the Russians talking to the Ukrainians. They're talking details about what would be necessary on each side to stop the fighting and stop the killing.
Good, finally.
We've made more progress in 3 months than the country had made in 3 years in stopping this conflict. And I think it's because sometimes you just need a president who will pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, it's about damn time. And they probably wanted the war to keep going because I'm sure they've got big-time lobbyists that are in D.C. over on K Street that are working on behalf of these giant manufacturers like Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Halliburton. I don't know if Halliburton's still a thing or not, but, you know, like these big weapons manufacturers. I'm sure they pay shitloads of money to certain politicians. That would be a list I would be interested in looking at. Doesn't that have to be public information if a lobbying firm is donating to a politician's campaign? There's got to be a way to compile a list just to find out. Same with big pharma. But I'm sure if you take all of these like big giant sectors of corporations, it's probably like 90% of Congress probably who are getting donations from one or the other or all the above. I really certainly hope not. All right, so from USFDA, 7-OH is up to 13 times more potent than morphine. Yet it's being sold openly across America, except Florida. We are taking action to protect kids and prevent the fourth wave of the opioid epidemic. So we'll take a quick listen to this.
Tell us a little bit about it. What is 7-OH?
What is 7-OH?
Well, people need to know what's
it's
in their local vape store. These vape stores are popping up all over America in almost every
and gas
neighborhood.
stations.
First of all, 85% of the vape products are illegal. These are Chinese products. We don't know what's in them. They cause lung damage. There's also a product called 7-OH. It's either a powder or a pill. It's in some drinks. It's
synthetic.
In gummies and candies. And 7-OH, people need to know, is an opioid. It is up to 13 times more potent than morphine, which means you can walk down the street in almost any neighborhood in America and buy an opioid. And this has been an increasing problem over the last couple years. The last administration was asleep at the wheel. We didn't hear a wink about it. People have no idea.
Yeah, it came out around 2023, I think.
And now we're starting to hear about the deaths of kids. So we want to warn the public. We're taking legal action. We're initiated the scheduling of 7-OH as a controlled substance. Florida followed our action here 2 weeks later, and we're seeing some movement on this. We also need to educate school boards and parents. Everyone needs to know that 7-OH is an opioid.
Yeah, and they banned it in Florida immediately. They didn't do a taper down period, a 30-day period. They just like immediately came out and said it is banned as of right now. And they actually extract 7-OH from the kratom leaf or the kratom tree, which grows in Southeast Asia. I think it's primarily in Indonesia, but it grows in other countries. It's a giant jungle tree. And these leaves, it's an evergreen. They grow all year round. They pluck the leaves. They dry out the leaves. They grind it down into a powder, and they package it, and they ship it. And that's known as kratom. And that's in its raw, natural form. Well, 7-OH exists in kratom at 0.1%. So there's only a trace amount of 7-OH in a natural kratom leaf. So the natural kratom product on its own only has a very trace small amount of it, which isn't anything they're concerned with. I mean, people use kratom for a variety of things. I've heard anxiety. I've heard, I think insomnia was another one. Pain management was another one. It's like a natural remedy as opposed to like, I don't know, like other kinds of painkillers like over the counter or maybe even pharmaceutical. But what they're doing is that they're extracting this 0.1% of 7-OH in this kratom leaf material, and they're I don't even know, like they're using chemistry. They're using fancy chemistry to make it extremely strong. They're just extracting what's only 0.1%, and they're concentrating it into really high doses. I don't know what the percentage is. Like, is it 1%? Is it 100 or not 100%? But anyway, they make it many times more potent, and they infuse it into gummies, like he said, and they infuse it into other products. They put them in packaging. I think they sell them in little shots. Probably look like those little 5-hour energy drink bottles, and they're selling it over the counter. And apparently, it's very highly addictive. And if that's true, if it's like 13 times more potent than morphine, then yeah, it's going to be very addictive. But in its natural form, just the leaf by itself, it apparently isn't anywhere near what this stuff is. I mean, this stuff is like really, really potent. So yeah, so Florida decided to remove it ASAP with no grace period at all. They're like, hell no, we're cutting this off right now. I think Florida was the first state to do that, and it was probably a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So I haven't heard really any fallout as a result of it. I'm sure that there's probably some, frustrations going on. That's probably putting it lightly. Because if it's been on the shelf since 2023, man, then there's probably people out there who've been taking it for like 2 years or some shit, and now all of a sudden it's not there anymore. So not sure how they're going to handle all that. But as far as I understand, I thought they usually do like a 30-day period, like the DEA did that when they actually tried to schedule kratom back in 2016, and they had a 30-day grace period. So all the suppliers, they can sell what they've got left, and everybody can just essentially brace for its scheduling. And, that way people can make other arrangements. They can get in with their doctor and find other alternative ways to manage whatever it is that they're using this natural remedy for. And there was a huge pushback from the public to the point where the DEA received over 50,000 phone calls in one day from the public, and Congress was getting inundated with calls. So it was like 50 members of Congress signed a letter and sent it over to the DEA, strongly urging them to not schedule it yet. Maybe hand it over to the FDA, let them do clinical trials on it. Let's get to the bottom of it, because there's a lot of blowback from the public. So there was a lot more people that depended on it than they expected. So they're, with all that being said, and that was like 9 years ago. So obviously the FDA wasn't too concerned with it because it was 9 years ago. And one of the journalists a few weeks ago, when they banned 7-OH, they did ask that if they were going to go after the kratom leaf itself too. And they said, no, we're not concerned with that because it only has a trace amount of this 7-OH in it, not enough to pose any serious problem. But this stuff, it's hyper concentrated. I guess there's been a huge uptick in emergency room visits because people are taking too much of this. I'm not sure if it's killing anybody. I would assume it is if it's more potent than morphine, because morphine could absolutely kill you if you take too much of it. So, yeah, man, some crazy stuff. I didn't even know this shit even existed until like 2 weeks ago when just out of nowhere, the FDA and Secretary Kennedy with HHS came out and did a statement on it. It's like, what the hell is this 7-OH shit? I don't know, man. That was just crazy, man, out of left field. It's just absolutely wild. And I'm sure a lot of it's probably stemming from China. That's where all the fentanyl came from. And when they schedule something like fentanyl, the Chinese, they'll just barely change its molecular composition. That way they can give it a different name and essentially just skirt the law, because the law says you can't have this exact type of product because they have to label it scientifically in the law. So they can change it just a little bit. So that way they can rebrand it as a whole different product, even though it's the exact same product. And yeah, as a result, the federal government is just constantly chasing after, chasing the dragon, if you will. But anyway, all right, so we're just going to move on to Rep. Greg Stanton. I believe this is the start of the string of the Democrats who are they're just throwing flack at Trump, accusing him of gutting the economy and the tariffs and Medicare and all this crap. So we'll read through a few of these and see what they have to say. But this comes from Rep. Greg Stanton. Trump's plan for working families, higher costs, and fewer choices. While billionaires keep their perks, everyday Americans get stuck with higher bills. The people deserve an economy that works for them, not just the wealthy. It's as if the Biden administration never happened. Approximately 75% of all food imported into the U.S. will now be hit with the Trump tariffs. That's $163 billion worth of food currently facing tariff rates ranging from 10 to 30% or higher. Okay, buy American. All right. If you are worried about your meats, your veggies, your produce, or whatever they're importing, just don't buy it. Buy American. I'm sure there's a way that you can figure out how to buy, I don't know, oranges or apples or I don't know, like kiwis. Do they grow kiwis in America? I don't even know if they grow kiwis or not, but I think you get what I mean. The majority of produce is grown here in the U.S. anyway. But yeah, there is a small percentage of produce that is grown outside of the U.S., and maybe it will face tariffs. I don't know. But anyway, this one's from Rep. Mike Thompson. I'll continue to work alongside organizations like the California Medical Association to fight cuts to healthcare access. Everyone deserves to have high-quality, affordable care. So, not really a jab at Trump. I may have misplaced this. This might have been probably belong somewhere else on my list of bookmarks. But, yeah, it's a letter, California Medical Association. I'm sure in here it's probably talking about cuts to Medicare and Medicaid. Yeah, here we go. All right, hold on. The significant loss in Medicaid and ACA coverage will shift the responsibility to already overloaded physicians, hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes. An estimated $128 billion cut in California provider taxes will force the closure of hospitals and surrounding physician practices. So, wait a minute. So it's California who's making cuts? I know the state of Washington did. The state of Washington, they just cut like $700 million worth of Medicaid in the state. So they could possibly be doing the same thing. Decades ago, yeah, I'm not interested with decades ago. So California patients and providers will lose as much. Oh, okay, hold on. Decades ago, Congress created Medicaid, and we agreed as a nation to protect the most vulnerable in our society. This year, that promise was broken. Surprised they didn't throw a Trump in there somewhere. But I'm sure that's what they're talking about. They're probably talking about the big ugly bill, because they're mentioning Congress. So, all right, so let's go to the next one here. So, Senator Tammy Baldwin. Here in Grant County, nearly 20% of residents rely on Medicaid. I heard firsthand from healthcare providers at the county's regional health center about what Republicans' deep cuts to Medicaid will mean for them and their patients. And I guess we can maybe check out the comments. But, yeah, it's not about funding cuts. It's about systemic theft. It's about the fraud, y'all. About the fraud and the waste, the abuse, all that going on. A lot of people are on Medicare and Medicaid who have no business being on it, including illegal immigrants. A lot of them are on these programs, and they're getting them the fuck off because they never paid into it. They're not entitled to it. If they need health care, they need to go back home and get their health care. I mean, hell, man, like people like you and me, just everyday people who just go to work and we have to pay for ridiculous health insurance costs. It's only going to take like one surgery or one accident or one, just name your injury or ailment, and it's going to bankrupt you. It'll put you into like $50,000 in medical debt. I mean, it's happening to people all the time. But yeah, people who are here illegally, they can get put on free health care for them, and anything that happens to them is just all covered. You know, no matter what. But yeah, anyway, just probably a lot of roasting happening down here in the comments. Medicare for all will wipe out how many hospitals, leave how many without health care? Tammy, you talk out of both sides of your mouth. Did you vote for Obamacare? What's your position on illegal migrants receiving free health care? Amen. She's all about it. She loves it. That's why she's complaining about people losing access to their health care, because she's not talking about people who are on it because they need it. They're talking about people who are here illegally, or people who are committing fraud, people who have no business being on it. They're perfectly able-bodied. They're not on disability, or if they are on disability, they're probably able-bodied and they should be working, not sitting around on disability all day. All right, so we did that one. Next one, Rep. Kim Schreier, MD. The big ugly bill makes the most significant cut to Medicaid in American history, hurting members across our community, illegal immigrants. Sierra from Bonnie Lake shared how Medicaid is a lifetime for her family, or a lifeline, my bad. Medicaid is a lifeline for her family, and how these cuts will impact their access to health care. Read more about what she had to say below. Now, is she doing this for free? Wait a minute. I'm calling bullshit already. This is from the state of Washington. Look, the state of Washington, they cut Medicaid by $700 million. Matter of fact, that's got to be down here in the comments. Somebody definitely said that, right? If not, I'm looking it up myself, because I'm telling you, that happened last year or earlier this year. Yeah, nobody made a mention of it? All right, full stop. Hold on. I gotta find it for you. They did. It was substantial. It was like $750 million. Yeah, here it is. Look at this. Yes, Washington State Democrats. Listen, Democrats did this. Get a load of this shit. Democrats. In Washington State, they cut Medicaid by $782 million in 2025, including $446 million in federal funds and $336 million in state funds. How do you like them apples? Hey, you get it because they grow apples in Washington. PovertyAction.org, WSHA.org. And you know that these mainstream media publications, if there are any in here, they're framing it in such a ridiculous way. Like Axios. Medicaid changes could leave 250,000 in Washington without coverage. But who are they blaming? This is Axios, man. Axios Seattle, so it's probably extra leftist. Oh, in the Senate reconciliation bill. Okay, so maybe they are putting blame on them. Hundreds of thousands included. Wait a minute, hold on. Hundreds of thousands of Washingtonians will lose health care coverage because of Medicaid cuts included in the spending bill President Trump signed last week. No, it's not. The Democrats did it. The Democrats in Washington State, they cut it on the state level. At least that's what Grok said. Yeah, so see, they're framing it as though like Trump and the Republicans are completely at fault. There's no mention in here about $700 million. I don't see anything about $700 million. Isn't that convenient? You see how they lie to these people? Nationwide, the legislation will cut Medicaid funding by an estimated $930 billion over 10 years. Yeah, so in your state cut over $1 billion, or almost $1 billion. I mean, 10-year cut, so that equates to like between $3 and $5 billion a year. So that would mean that Washington Democrats, they cut like 20-30% worth of the Medicaid that they get on an annual basis just by themselves. But see, I'm sure that's going to say the exact same thing. Look, anti-worker extremists in Congress are pushing to cut $700 billion. I think it's million, not billion, from Medicaid SNAP. Oh, actually, they're probably talking about. Yeah, I'm sure they're talking about the Republicans. The big ugly bill. Still Senate.gov, governor.wa.gov. So I won't get into the weeds on it, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be in here, probably in this Senate.gov site, or maybe this one, wa.gov. 700 billion. I mean, I'm just trying to see in one of these paragraphs where it says 40 or 780 million. I'm not seeing it, but that's what it said. That's what it said. Washington State Democrats, they cut Medicaid by $782 million in 2025. So there you have it. I'm not sure if anybody posted to that effect. Ferguson is blaming Republicans for what he signed himself, an astonishing $782 million cut to Medicaid in Washington, which is pretty wild. So I'm going to repost that for you, or anybody who's listening, if you want to check that out on my profile at Spaethon, S-P-A-E-T-H-O-N. I put an N at the end. Yeah, Washington House Republicans. Bob Ferguson in 2025 slashes almost $1 billion from Medicaid. So, all right. I'm not going to keep getting hung up on it. Actually, my original plan was just to rapidly read through these tweets, and I'm getting hung up on them one by one. All right, so let's go to the next one. Trump promised to bring prices down on day one. 200 days later, everything is more expensive. Food, healthcare, energy, it's all going up. Thanks to the previous administration. Obviously, that's from Senator Cory Booker. So, every single word that comes out of his wall-eyed fucking mouth is just complete bullshit. Let's hear what he has to say.
So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
What Donald Trump has done in this first 200-plus days is exactly the opposite of what he would say he was going to do for people. We're seeing grocery prices go up. Healthcare costs go up. We're seeing. Wait
a minute. Full stop. Where's that graphic? Look at this. This is from Cory Booker. Can I make this bigger? Get a load of this shit. I know you're going to have to squint to look closely, but right here at the bottom, that's 2022. Who was the president at the beginning of 2022? It was a Democrat, correct? I think so. And then look, 2023, same thing, still rising. 2024, same thing, still rising. 2025. Now, to be fair, I will say that if this graph is indeed accurate, it hasn't flatlined and it hasn't quite yet gone down. Actually, it flatlined for like a few weeks. in the beginning of 2025, and then it increased a little bit more. But look, like Trump's administration started right about there. So just a little bump since he took over, and it was actually flat for a good little bit. And then before, this is all Biden. All that's Biden. It's all Joe Biden.
Healthcare costs go up. We're seeing an attack on hospitals.
Wait a minute. It's going to go up by 75% next year? Health insurance. Okay. All right, health insurance. Yeah, whatever.
Rural.
$50 billion slush fund won't save rural hospitals.
To a lot of the ones that we have in this greater New York metropolitan area, the sort of frontline hospitals that deal with a lot of our charity care. You see them pushing up energy costs and attacking small business.
Energy costs are going up because of the renewable energy bullshit that they dumped $1 trillion into
in our region
in part.
Of this tariff.
Also because tens of millions of illegal immigrants are here consuming our electricity. You know, that's got to count for something too. That's also why electricity is going up, because non-Americans are tapping into it.
Chaos that he's brought. So a lot of these things are hurting Americans, and it's something that we've really got to start to call out.
Yeah, whatever. He's totally full of shit. All right, so Rep. Ted Lieu, wholesale vegetable prices are skyrocketing. This is happening as Republicans cut anti-hunger programs like SNAP. Congress should be working together to make life more affordable. Again, illegal immigrants, for the most part. And also a lot of people are losing their benefits because they have no business being on them. Because they're able-bodied. They have kids that are either older than 14 or they don't have kids at all. Which means they can get up and they can go to work. And if you want to keep your SNAP benefits, you have to work a minimum of 20 hours a week. And you still have to meet the threshold of income. So, and I'm sure there's many other things that are happening. That's just off the top of my head. But you actually linked an article from today, which I'm not going to get into this. Wholesale vegetable prices are skyrocketing. What does that mean for shoppers? Matter of fact, didn't I think I asked Grok earlier today about vegetables, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, look at this. U.S. vegetable imports and production. Most of the vegetables consumed by Americans, are they imported? Listen to this. About 30% of vegetables consumed in the United States are imported based on data through 2023. The share varies by type: fresh vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and so on. For example, Mexico supplies around 60% of fresh tomatoes and 70% of cucumbers, and so on and so forth. I thought, oh yeah, here it is. Domestic production still dominates overall, supported by states like California, which accounts for nearly half of U.S. vegetable output. So there you have it. And I'm sure there's probably enough space in California where they could probably ramp up the production if needed. So what California growers should do, if they have the ability to do so, I would take full advantage of that and try to plant as much as you humanly possibly can next year, because people are going to try to find a better priced fruit or vegetable, and you might be able to by just buying domestic as opposed to imported. If you know of an app, now there is a website, I think it's called madeinusa.com, where you can go and you can search all kinds of products that are made in America to avoid buying imported stuff. I don't think that they have food on there though. So if you know of an app or a website where certain, I don't know, grocery chains or maybe even something locally where you can go and buy domestically grown food, you know, I would suggest doing that just to try to avoid that. That's if they're going to go up that much. Going up by 70% due to a tariff, that sounds more like price gouging to me, because I don't think that Mexico's tariffs are going up by 70%. Plus, for all we know, the food may not even take much of a hit anyway. I mean, look, I haven't researched it for myself. For all I know, the tariffs aren't even, like, food might be completely exempt from the tariffs. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying that it wouldn't surprise me to find that they actually are. So this one is from Chuck Schumer. Oh, is that big enough? Yeah, I think I already got sized up. Healthcare costs are going up, and rural Americans will be hardest hit. All because Republicans voted to rip healthcare tax credits away from working families to pay for tax breaks for the ultra-rich in their big ugly betrayal. Why does he give a flank? He doesn't give a fuck about rural Americans. Come on, dude. He doesn't give a shit. New report, rural Americans will be disproportionately impacted by devastating healthcare costs, and time is running out. He's pretending to care about rural Americans, so maybe one or two of them will actually see it, which nobody's reading this shit. He's only got 199 likes. And he's hoping to try to reach out to the rural Americans and get them to come over to the dark side, the democracy side. So Senator Cortez Masto, millions of American kids could lose their school lunches while Donald Trump and his billionaire friends get a tax break That's what Senate Republicans voted for. That's what they did. An estimated 18 million kids could lose access to free school meals because of Trump's tax bill. And of course, they don't elaborate. They don't point to anywhere in the bill where it says that 18 million kids or that any kids are going to lose free school meals. Maybe somebody in the comments may have actually quoted the bill. All right. Anyway, so from Doge AI, the big beautiful bill realigns federal priorities to cut bureaucratic bloat, not student nutrition. Snap's 186 billion cut targets systemic waste like duplicate benefits and eligibility fraud. Yes. Yep, there's a lot of people who are getting way more than they're supposed to be getting, taking full advantage of the system. Look, I've seen videos. I believe the one that this one I saw was on TikTok. Some lady, she was buying cases of what's it called? Sam's Choice, whatever the cheap Walmart soda is these days. She was buying cases of soda in, I want to say, Michigan. And when she went out to the parking lot, she was opening up every one, dumping all of the contents down the drain, and she was bagging up the cans to go take them to get money out of the cans. And she was using her SNAP benefits to buy those sodas. And she got arrested. That was the drama of the video. Like, somebody saw her doing it, so they called the police. The police showed up, asked her what she was doing, and she was just unapologetically bragging about it, and the cops placed her under arrest for fraud. She's a fucking idiot. There's a lot of idiots out there. But yeah, so that's happening. It's just one of many, many things that they should be looking into with regard to cutting tons of people off of this, because there's a lot of people out there who actually could really use it, and they're not able to because, I don't know, maybe they don't look a certain way, or maybe they make like 5 cents too much money, or could be a myriad of different reasons. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there that could use it, but the system is unbelievably tapped out, to say the least. But now they're going to free up more funds. Maybe then they can give it to some people who really do deserve it, and not those who are just trying to sit on their asses all day and not do shit. Or the ones who take their SNAP benefits and they go up to, name your grocery store, and they buy lobster, they buy filet mignon, they buy like just all this fancy ass shit. Because there's a lot of people who do that too. I've seen the TikTok videos. I've seen them. All right, Senator Tim Kaine. In the past 8 months, Trump has enacted chaotic, regressive policies, and our economy is paying the price. Here are the top 5 ways that Trump is creating a cost of living crisis. Oh, this is going to be fun. This ought to be fun.
This is cost of living week, and I want to just
cost
point out
of
ways
living
in
week.
which Donald Trump's chaotic first 6 months in office.
Chaotic, my ass.
On
dude, 7 peace deals. How is that chaotic, man? They got people all over the world who are trying to nominate him for the fucking peace prize, dude.
Americans. 5 ways. Number 1, Trump's tariff chaos, imposing taxes on every.
Yeah, so far the tariffs have brought in over $150 billion worth of revenue to the Treasury. How is that chaotic, man? I don't know about you, but I haven't noticed anything going up in price, and I understand the tariffs just kicked in a couple of weeks ago, and there's still some tariffs that haven't even kicked in yet. So chaotic, not so much.
Everyday Americans, by taxing costs of imported goods, have led to increases in prices for food.
Oh, please give us an example. Not that he's going to, but look, if somebody like Tide mentioned it, I think Nike also mentioned it, that they're going to increase the cost of their products because of the tariffs. Just don't buy them. There's other bottles of detergent besides Tide. Buy somebody else whose price that you've noticed hasn't gone up, and Tide will just go out of business if everybody boycotts companies that are using the tariffs as an excuse to raise their product prices. Even if they are importing them, don't let them make you the brunt of the tariff increases, because the tariffs are supposed to be enticing companies to come back to America. Not to mention, these tariffs, they should have been in place all along. They should have been in place for decades and decades and decades, but they haven't been. So now is the time where they start to pay their fair share, because these companies, I'm sure they've been profiting hand over fist, especially going offshore and paying employees like $1 an hour to manufacture the same stuff that Americans should be manufacturing in the first place.
Building supplies, for clothing, for back-to-school supplies. Tariffs are estimated to cost the average American.
Look, dude, I see a lot of, I hear a lot of words coming out of your mouth, but I don't see any papers in front of you. I don't see any sources. I don't see any images coming up on the screen. All I see is just a dude in a suit sitting at a desk complaining with no proof to back it up.
Only $2,400 more this year. Second, Donald Trump declared an energy emergency. Why did he do it? Because he wanted to have a giveaway to big oil.
No, he declared an emergency because we're building up our AI infrastructure, which is going to weigh down heavily on our electrical grid. Plus, the Democrats have been heavily incentivizing people to get electric vehicles for years on end, which is also taxing on our electrical grid. And they want to fix that by building a whole bunch of solar panels, which the materials, I'm sure, are primarily sourced from fucking China and God knows where else. And they want us to run on batteries, which is beyond retarded. It makes no sense.
At the same time as he's cutting economic development projects.
That's like he's making this shit up as he goes along.
Wind and solar and other alternative energies. So what is that?
Clean and affordable wind and solar? Are you fucking kidding? Oh, really? Clean wind and solar. Or affordable. He said affordable. All right, well, where do I have that one? All right, let me see. Where? Let's see. No, that's too long ago. Where did I put that? That was yesterday. No, my microphone nonsense. Job number, screwworm, wholesale sugar. Maybe it was on my other Grok app. Oh, man. That's going to bum me out if I can't find that. Search Grok history. Hold on. Solar. Anything? No. Damn it. All right, well, anyway, I can't show it right now. I believe I did show it in my episode on, maybe it was Saturday, maybe Monday. Actually, it might have been on Monday. But energy, so the average American pays about $135 for electricity across the country. That's the average rate of electricity that we're paying. If a city of 1 million people were to be put on wind and solar exclusively, just wind and solar, they would have to pay about $375 a month for their electricity. And that is without those companies' profits. That is before factoring in any profitability whatsoever. So realistically, you're going to be paying like $400 to $500 a month, probably closer to $500 a month, if you live in a city that is exclusively run on wind and solar. It is not affordable. It's never been affordable. The Biden administration has dumped over $1 trillion of our tax money into renewable energy, and I've not seen one single place in the country where anybody's electric bill has gotten any cheaper. If anything, it's only gone up. So if you're spending trillions of dollars worth of this green energy, where's the affordability? Where is it? It's nowhere.
It raises your energy costs. Third, Donald Trump has cut food assistance programs.
Where in the hell is he looking? Dude, put the papers in front of you. Show us the proof, dude. Show us what you're talking
Programs
about.
like the SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
Yeah, we just went over that one.
For low and moderate income families and kids. So that means these families will have
the poor children.
It means farmers that produce.
No, it means their parents need to go back to work.
Will have a harder time doing it. And it also means loss of jobs in grocery and retail stores, many of which utilize SNAP.
Oh, so you want our grocery stores to basically be communism ran. So you want our grocery stores. See, so he's got lobbyists that are working on behalf of giant grocery retailers that are backing him because they are going to lose a lot of money. Walmart, Target, Publix, Winn-Dixie, I don't know, like whatever the H-E-B, trying to think of other grocery stores, Ralph's, like whatever. They are going to lose a lot of money because they're making cuts to this program. And I'm sure that they're lobbying heavily to members of Congress to put out this bullshit propaganda because, yeah, their numbers are going to go down a bit because people aren't going to be using their SNAP benefits. So there will be a period of time where they're going to take losses until these people who lose their benefits finally go back to work, and then they start using their own money, and at which time they will return back to the level of income that they were receiving before, the grocery retailers.
It's a key and important part of the revenue that
look, people got to eat one way or another.
Fourth, Donald Trump has made massive cuts to healthcare, especially to Medicaid. Cuts to Medicaid will cause more than
and state Democrats did too.
Americans to lose health insurance. The cuts to premium subsidies in the Affordable Care Act means that people's premiums, if
Waste,
they do have
fraud,
health
and
insurance,
abuse.
will start to go up, some by as much as 30 to 50% by year end.
Where's the crystal
And
ball,
a lot
dude?
of our healthcare providers that rely on these programs, Medicaid, for example, will see lower or lesser reimbursement.
Well, good. We shouldn't be giving illegal immigrants Medicaid.
Of healthcare providers, especially in rural America. And the fifth thing that Donald Trump is doing is he's doing all of the above.
There's the buzzword. Take a shot. The billionaires.
We don't need to give more tax breaks to the richest. We don't need to give more tax breaks to the biggest companies. But Donald Trump is
I have a feeling that a lot of billionaires give to Democrats.
By cutting medicine, food, raising your energy bill, and raising the cost of things that you buy every day to help your family.
I mean, did this dude not see what happened to the stock market when Biden got into office and how much it skyrocketed with the big transfer of wealth? The transfer of wealth during and post-COVID was absolutely ridiculously insane. Like the Dow Jones is like, what, 46,000 now or 45,000? I mean, like in 2009, it was not even 7,000. I mean, it had gone up like what, 8 times or some shit. Or, well, not that much, but it went up many times over.
We're going to keep the focus on this and keep putting legislation on the table in the Senate to try to get Republicans to finally vote in their constituents' interests rather than follow Donald Trump's economic chaos.
Oh, dude, you don't give a shit about your constituents either, man. If there's any party that could possibly not give a shit less, it is absolutely the Democrats. They want you to be desperate and poor and depending on them. They want to be giving you government health care and keeping you from working and keeping you down and taking government benefits so you can't save more than $2,000. You can't have more than $2,000 worth of assets to your name because they want you poor and desperate and dependent on them. They don't want you to be independent. They want you to be stuck under their thumb. That's what they want. They want you licking their boots like a good, obedient little tool, you little mouth, little ant. All right, so this one, not sure if we'll get, wait, hold on. Yeah, so this one, we probably won't get too much into this one because I already did read the announcement by Tulsi Gabbard. Obviously, I found this one and the one right underneath this one before I found the post that Tulsi Gabbard herself had posted. But anyway, new DNI Gabbard will announce today that she is refocusing DNI to aggressively execute its national security mission, shrinking DNI by nearly 50% and saving hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. And that's from thedailywire.com, so I'll link that article if you'd like to read it. There's probably not anything new in that article that I didn't already go over. Saving taxpayers over $700 million. I think she did throw that figure out. Yeah, it was in the hundreds of millions, almost 50%. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard said 40. I don't know if they're just trying to make it all fluffed up to be a little more dramatic than it is. But dude, even no. Here we go. Daily Wire states that the changes will reduce personnel by 30 to 40%. DNI will be reduced by almost 50%. Well, which one is it, Daily Wire? Maybe by the end of 2025, maybe they're letting 30 to 40% go immediately. Oh, wait, yeah. Here we go. They'll be separated from the DNI by September 30th. Okay. So maybe I should have just read the article. But yeah, it's looking like they'll be reduced by almost 50% by the end of the year. But by September 30th, it's going to be reduced by 30 to 40%. So there you have it. But that'll be linked in the description below if you want to check it out. Same with this one, dailymail.co.uk. I am not a fan of the Daily Mail, but they're talking about it. So this is from John Michael Ratch. Breaking, Tulsi Gabbard axes nearly half of spy agency staff in earthquake deep state shakeup. I liked how he worded that. Dropping the earthquake word. The ODNI will go from around 2,000 employees all the way down to 1,300. Senior officials say it's to right-size the agency and pivot to an elite workforce. And finally, the New York Post, Tulsi Gabbard to downsize ODNI's workforce by 40%, eliminate politicized offices. And I'll throw that one up there for you, too, if you feel like checking it out. And we'll just move right on to the next one. From EIA, we published a resource advisory last month that can be helpful if you want to navigate and understand our data on electricity generation capacity. And they're responding to themselves 10 hours ago, saying that U.S. developers report half of new electric generating capacity will come from solar energy. And I can only assume the reason that there's so much being produced in the way of solar is because, again, the Biden administration dumped $1 trillion into solar and I'm sure wind as well, but wind has a much lower return on investment than solar does. Solar, in the short term, over the first year, between 1 and 3 years, solar arguably has a bigger return on investment than nuclear, because nuclear has insane upfront costs. But over a scale of years, I don't know, 5 years, maybe 10 years, nuclear generation starts to have a huge return on investment, like big time. Over the long term, nuclear, it's the big game in town. Maybe that hydroelectric. So yeah, so this is from the EIA.gov, and that's the U.S. Energy Information Administration, in case you wondered. U.S. developers report half of new electric generating capacity comes from solar, or will come from solar. And yeah, they've got the graph here. The planned additions between July and December. Oh, come on, dude, no. Survey my ass. So cumulative utility scale electric generating capacity additions in 2025, and that's in gigawatts. So I guess, yeah, I mean, if that's really true, man, they're adding what, 70 gigawatts to the grid? Or 33.3 actually. I mean, that's substantial. That's substantial, man. If those plans are realized, solar would account for more than half of the 64 gigawatts that developers plan to bring online this year. Battery storage, see, that's going to be your problem. That's why wind and solar are going to be far more expensive than fossil fuels, because they have to build all of these batteries and they have to replace them every 10 to 15 years. And what are they going to do with all those batteries after they're dead? They're probably just going to throw them in massive freaking battery landfills, which is going to be really detrimental to the environment. But oh no, they don't want to talk about that. They want to just literally sweep it under the rug. So let's see. Yeah, they could set a record for capacity additions if all 64 gigawatts come online this year. The previous record for U.S. generating capacity additions was way back in 2002, when developers added 58 gigawatts to the grid, 57 of which was fueled by natural gas. Nice. Although developers have added natural gas-fired capacity each year since then, other technologies such as wind, solar, and battery storage have become more prevalent options for new capacity. That just blows my mind, man. Just running a city on batteries, or even running your individual home on batteries. If you have the money, you could drop $40,000, $50,000 and get a solar setup for your house that will make you completely off the grid, which of course I'm sure you're still going to have to be relatively conservative with it. I mean, you're probably not going to, get dollar for dollar or a megawatt for megawatt the exact same, unless you had one hell of a battery storage capacity. And even if you did, now the home generation, from what I've read, because I've read up on this stuff in the past, the batteries for a home unit, those could arguably last 15, maybe as much as 20 years, but you will have to replace the batteries, and they can cost $15,000, $20,000, $25,000. It's just like an EV. One day you're going to have to replace the battery, and it costs tens of thousands of dollars to do so. So when they say that if you buy a $50,000 system and you take a loan out and pay it over the next 10 years or whatever, there will be a certain time where it'll start paying for itself. That's not exactly true, because when you look at your electric bill and you compare it to how much that you're going to be saving over that scale of time, they don't factor in the fact that you have to replace your equipment at a certain period of time. So you're always going to be playing catch up. Maybe in 50 years, you might start to break even because you're going to have to replace your batteries. So essentially, you're going to have to find a way to save $15,000 to $25,000 on your electrical costs in order for the batteries to pay for themselves when you have to replace them. So it's not as efficient as people tend to think that it is, or it's not as cost effective. I mean, it is efficient. It's really efficient, actually. You hook up some solar panels, put them out in your backyard or up on your roof. I mean, it'd be pretty groovy. It'd be really nice, especially if you lose power and, you're one of the only houses around that's got full power. You got your air conditioning going, heat, whatever. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I would mention the possibility of like a hurricane or something, but I'm sure solar panels probably wouldn't do very well in a hurricane. Although I don't know, man. My neighbors behind my house, they've got solar panels up on their roof, and we just had Hurricane Milton last year, and we had Hurricane Helene, and Hurricane Milton brought 100-mile-an-hour winds, and their solar panels are still up there, so maybe they're a lot durable than I give them credit for. So Grok, what is the effective 24/7 output from a 33.3 gigawatt solar generating capacity, assuming batteries are used to provide level 24/7 power? What is the effective 24/7 output? U.S. utility scale solar capacity factor of 24%. The average output from 33.3 gigawatts is about 8. Assuming sufficient batteries, this could be smoothed to around 8 gigawatt level 24/7 power, ignoring storage losses for simplicity. What would the 24/7 output be from the natural gas portion listed? All right, yeah, I'm not really intending on getting into the weeds on this, but yeah, he's just having a conversation with Grok. I'm sure that's pretty interesting. I'm probably going to read this after I'm done with the show. Oh, matter of fact, I thought I reposted that. All right. I thought I did. I didn't. But yeah, man, only 6 people. Only 6 people like this. But yeah, I mean, if you're wondering, like, why is solar so substantial, it's because we just came out of the Biden administration and they dumped insane amounts of money into a renewable energy. So I would certainly hope, in fact, I'm kind of surprised that it's not higher than that, dude. $1 trillion in renewable energy, and that's all they're going to put out. Only 7.8 for wind and 33 for solar. I would assume it'd be a lot higher than that. Because look, you could build a nuclear power plant that can generate a gigawatt of electricity for like what, $2-3 billion. So, I mean, like you could get like what, 50, probably like on maybe the conservative end, you might be able to get like between 35 and 40 gigawatts worth of electricity for $100 billion. So, I mean, you could probably get 200, 300 gigawatts of electricity for $1 trillion if you put it completely into nuclear energy. I don't know, man. All I'm saying, whatever. What do I know? All right, so anyway, from the GOP, Win with Winsome is standing up for sanity and common sense. Spanberger and radical Virginia Democrats have gone too far, and it needs to stop, and they're responding to Winsome Earl Sears. She says, it's time for the insanity to stop. Yeah, you're damn right it is. Girls are girls, boys are boys, and punishing young men for speaking up about their discomfort is not normal. All right, let's see what she has to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the insanity to stop. It is time for everyone to recognize...
Dude, you remember that? That reminds me, boys will be boys. You remember hearing that saying like way back in the day, if you're old enough to remember that? Like the old timers that are, I don't know, like born like at the turn of the 20th century or whatnot. Like, oh, well, boys will be boys. As in like boys get into trouble, boys fight, boys get dirty, boys don't sit still in their chairs. Boys are just, they're rowdy, they've got a lot of energy. Well, boys these days, whenever they're any of those options, they just assume that they have ADHD, or they take them into a doctor to get diagnosed with something, and next thing you know, they're putting them on freaking amphetamines to manage ADHD, and it's absolutely insane. Boys have lots of energy. That's probably why girls tend to do better in school than boys do, because girls, they can sit and focus, and you know, they're better listeners. They make better teachers. You know, they're the ones that do the majority of raising our children. And typically the fathers are the ones that instill the responsibility, the hard work, the accountability, and all that stuff. I don't know, man. Anyway, just figured that ought to be said.
Girls are girls, and boys are boys.
They are. Women are not men. Men are not women.
That we are here today having to talk about these things that everybody understands as plain common sense. Here we are, we're talking about 3 young boys, who have been punished because they were trying to do the noble thing and saying they were not comfortable having to undress in front of girls.
What the fuck, man?
Now, normally we would applaud that, would we not?
Yeah.
And instead, this school system has decided they are going
suspend them?
to use the parents' own tax money against them and punish these boys. And so now they are branded, these young men are branded with a label that no parent wants.
What, like misogynist? They're misogynist now?
As boys who have sexually harassed.
Oh my God.
Young age.
Are you kidding?
Think about that. What are we supposed to do now?
This is absolutely fucking ludicrous, man. It is absolutely insane. I thought, well, the Trump administration is weeding out all this bullshit, and they're actually withholding federal funds from school districts that get caught doing this shit. So I'm sure that something's going to be done about that. And I'm just curious to see what some of the comments might say with regard to this, because I don't know where this is. It said Virginia, right? Pretty sure it said Virginia. Amen. Based. Keep Virginia winning. Socialism. Amen. You should all change your core values and beliefs so I fit in. Yup. That about sums it up now, doesn't it? Holding the Bible. Keep fighting. Here's information that needs more attention. Oh, in 2022. Yeah, like that freaking book. What was it called? Genderqueer or whatever. They were putting it in all these libraries. It was showing kids how to get around pregnancy by having butt sex. Bullshit like that. I don't know if that was in Genderqueer, but I know that there were fucking books out there about that shit. Like teaching kids how to, practice like safe sex in the way that they don't get pregnant. Absolutely deplorable, man. It's disgusting. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right, from Homeland Security. This is from Homeland Security. Giga chat over here. All right, so from Amy Cho, breaking. Just saw DC police and federal agents detain a man on the National Mall. He appeared to try to escape, then was quickly tackled to the ground by several agents and was screaming in Spanish, "Please, I'm not a criminal. I work here. I want to be with my family." And let's just listen to this. It gets quite interesting from here. Check this out. "I'm not an immigrant. I'm just an innocent American trying to get to work." Or is he? Oh, no. What a dumbass. I heard por favor. I know what that means. Oh, the humanity. This poor citizen. Dude, you are in trouble. But whatever did he do? What do you say, yo taco familia? Oh, there's the person filming. I wonder what their motive was when they originally filmed this. Or if they were just some bystander that was like, holy shit, look at what's going on here. Well, that's probably what's really happening. I doubt she probably had a motive. Probably just walking down the sidewalk. All right, so what did this guy do? What did he do? I asked the agents, I don't want to give away the spoiler. I asked the agents what the man was being charged with, but they didn't reply. I've also reached out to ICE for comment. At NBC Washington. Update. ICE has sent a statement on this man's detention, saying his name is David Perez Teofani, and that he was arrested in Fairfax County in 2024 and charged with aggravated assault or aggravated sexual battery against a minor under 13 years old. And he's from Mexico. He has a final order of removal. He's entered the U.S. illegally not one, not two, three different times. He was arrested in Fairfax County on January 30th of 2024, and he was charged with aggravated sexual battery against a minor under 13 and felony indecent liberties and proposed sex acts. Another update. Fairfax County court records show the charges were later dropped. I've reached out to the Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney's Office for comment, but I haven't heard back. An ICE spokesperson tells me prosecutors refuse to prosecute. I guarantee you that's what it was. They found out that he was some poor undocumented citizen, and we just can't put him in jail. We have a political narrative to push forward. And there you have it. Jessica and her fellow Democrats are fighting for people like this. Yeah, they are. They are. Dude is literally a child rapist. That's what he is. He rapes children. And I just figured it was a little more appropriate to start that with her comments, because I think I got another one, I believe. Yeah, here we go. This is directly from Homeland Security. This illegal alien from Mexico was previously arrested in January of 24 in Fairfax County for the following. He entered and had a final order of removal and chose to voluntarily return twice. He illegally entered 3 times. Thank you to law enforcement for getting him off Washington, D.C.'s streets. So there you have it. And then, the framing here. Breaking, just saw D.C. police and federal agents detain a man on the National Mall. He appeared to try to escape, then was quickly tackled to the ground by several agents. He was screaming in Spanish, "Please, I'm not a criminal. I work here. I want to be with my family." Okay. Well, now we know the real reason. Because he's a criminal who was on the run, who was kicked out of the country, and he kept coming back. Then in 2024, he committed atrocious acts against a child. So hopefully this fucking asshole never gets out of prison, which is a bit unfortunate for the taxpayer, because now we're going to have to pay, what, $35,000 to $50,000 a year to house that asshole. Anyway, so this one, hard segue, very hard segue, from the White House. Congratulations to our ambassador to the European Union, Andy Puzder. Puzder or Puzder? I'm horrible with names. U.S. ambassador to the EU, former CEO, husband, and father. And he's also an author, A Tyranny for the Good of Its Victims. And he's from Brentwood, Tennessee. And he's now our ambassador to the European Union. He's just sworn in today. And this was posted just 2 hours ago. President Trump there to oversee it, maybe to witness the ceremony or the swearing in. All right, from GOP, this was also just a couple hours ago. Tariff revenue, Biden during 2024, it was about $55 billion. And so far, after the tariffs just kicked in, not all of them, but most of them kicked in. I want to say it was on August 1st, wasn't it? Or maybe August 7th. And so far, we're up to $150 billion under Trump. I'm really going to look forward to see what those numbers are going to look like by this time next year, especially in total. I'm just curious to know how much it's going to be. I mean, at that rate, shit, what, $1 trillion maybe? It's going to be a lot. I don't know if anybody drops any facts down here, or if it's just, whatever. Trump tariffs are working like magic. Trade surplus down 35%. Real estate imploding since Evergrande collapse. Youth, 1 in 6 can't find work. Consumers pulling back hard. Local governments buried in debt. Yeah. All right, whatever. All he does is win. Awesome. Let's keep going. U.S. grocery prices reached record highs in 2025. I think Senator Cory Booker should actually take a look at this. Look, dude, grocery prices, they didn't move under Trump, but they certainly moved quite a lot under Biden. Obviously, the blue line being grocery prices, increasing the most substantially in comparison to cheese, alcohol, dairy, produce, meat. Yeah, meat went up a lot, man. It's ridiculous, dude. Have you gone and you bought or even looked or considered buying something like a T-bone or a porterhouse? I mean, some of those cuts, just like a pound and a half, it's like $50. It's absolutely insane. U.S. buyers paid for that, like $450 per citizen. Taxing citizens isn't a real flex. No, not so much. We're not seeing that yet. Also, the chart for consumer prices, $150 billion in excess taxes. Nah, not so much. We're not seeing that yet. So yeah, we're getting a lot of pushback from the Democrats in this one. I don't typically see that. Anti-communist, and that's crazy. Where the Epstein files, yeah, I do agree with them there. But of course, they're using that as a distraction. But the Trump administration, they're at fault for that, because they promised us the Epstein files, then they walked it back. So now the Democrats are essentially using that as a way to just keep people's eye off the ball. They're using it as their smoke and mirrors tactics. But Trump gave them the mirrors. They shouldn't have done it. Democrats said this wouldn't work. Where's the money going? I believe that they actually have an answer for that, where the money is directed to. I don't know if it's to the Treasury directly, but I believe that they actually do have whether if it's an entity or a process as to where the tariff money is going. I know somebody wanted it to be dispersed back to the American people. I don't know if that was Elon Musk. I know Elon Musk wanted to refund the money that was saved by Doge, and he offered a proposal to give Americans back like $5,000 each, which I was way against. Like, hell no, dude. Put it toward the national debt. Which I understand that's not going to fix it either, because do you know how much money that we're paying on interest in the national debt each year? We're paying $940 billion toward the national deficit. Just the interest. Just the interest. And we have to pay for that forever. And it's only going up. Of course it's only going up. So I get it. If you dumped all that money, all the Doge money, and all the tariff revenue into the national deficit, all it's going to do is just pay off the interest. It's not even going to really hit the principal at all. Which is why, in many ways, our country is kind of screwed. Financially speaking, at least. All right, so let's head on down to Marcus Lemonis' official statement regarding Bed Bath & Beyond. This is kind of interesting. We will not open retail stores in California. This isn't about politics, it's about reality. California's system makes it nearly impossible for businesses to succeed, and I won't put our company, our employees, or our customers in that position. Absolutely crazy. I think I've actually got, yeah, so I don't know if this will be a bigger read. This one looks complete. Let me just check back on this one. Yeah, it looks like it's the same one, isn't it? So let's see. Statement from Marcus Lemonis, Executive Chairman of Bed Bath & Beyond. We will not open or operate retail stores in California. This decision isn't about politics, it's about reality. California has created one of the most overregulated, expensive, and risky environments for businesses in America. It's a system that makes it harder to employ people, harder to keep doors open, and harder to deliver value to customers. The result? Higher taxes, higher fees, higher wages that many businesses simply cannot sustain, and endless regulations that strangle growth. Even when the state announces a budget surplus, it's built on the backs of ordinary citizens who are paying too much and businesses who are squeezed until they break. At Bed Bath & Beyond, our responsibility is to our customers and our shareholders. We will not participate in a system that undermines both. Instead, we are investing in a California strategy that works. 24 to 48-hour delivery, that's smart. And in many cases, same-day service. Californians will continue to get the products they love through bedbathandbeyond.com, but without the inflated costs created by an unsustainable model. We are taking a stand because it's time for common sense. Businesses deserve the chance to succeed. Employees deserve jobs that last, and customers deserve fair prices. California's system delivers the opposite. That's why Bed Bath & Beyond will serve California customers directly through bedbathandbeyond.com on our terms and with their best interests at heart. So there you have it. Holy cow. Finally, some pushback by a big company. Now look, they did go bankrupt recently, correct? And then they were restructured and acquired by some other entity. I don't exactly remember the nitty-gritty details with regard to Bed Bath & Beyond. But I believe that they did. I should have put short answer. I always forget to do that because Grok tends to give you really long-winded answers. Yeah, filed for Chapter 11 protection April 23rd of 23. Let's see. It faced years of declining sales, $5.2 billion against $4.4 billion in assets. Yeah, that's a little bit upside down. Challenges adapting to e-commerce and changing consumer preferences. Began liquidating its 360 Bed Bath & Beyond stores in 120 Buy Baby locations, with all stores closing by July 30th of 23. So, okay, so Overstock acquired them. Intellectual property for $21 million. Damn, dude, pennies on the dollar. Relaunching it as an online-only retailer under bedbathandbeyond.com. And recently, the brand has returned to physical retail with a new store in Nashville under the Brand House Collective Incorporated, formerly Kirkland's Incorporated. So with what Gavin Newsom's about to say, he does have a little bit of credit behind what he's saying. I thought he was being sarcastic, but because it looks like they've only opened up one store so far, with a new store. I mean, and it's not plural. So let's get back to this. I'll show you Gavin Newsom's. Oh, right after I show you this one. This one's from Libs of TikTok. Marcus Lemonis, the executive chairman for Bed Bath & Beyond, just announced that his company will no longer operate in California. And, of course, I just read the letter, so we don't have to read out the quotes. Welcome to Gavin Newsom's California. So this comes from Governor Newsom press office, which is his actual press office. It's got the gray check mark. After their bankruptcy and closure of every store, like most Americans, we thought Bed Bath & Beyond no longer existed. We wish them well in their efforts to become relevant again as they try to open a second store. Oof, that was a jab. So from Eric Daugherty, breaking in another stunning embarrassment for Gavin Newsom, the chairman of Bed Bath & Beyond announces they will not open any retail stores in California. We're taking a stand because it's time for common sense. The reasoning: high taxes, high fees, forced unsustainable wages, so on and so forth. Now, I probably, if I were the CEO, and I don't know his politics, he could be a diehard conservative, or maybe he just doesn't give a shit. Maybe he was working with California to try to get some stores open, and maybe he was just hit by roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. That could have been a very real possibility. So maybe he's just venting his frustration with regard to that. However, I would have probably held off on that letter maybe until they've had at least enough stores open to show that they have a provable business model in 2025, because they were failing. They were failing up until 2023, and they had to liquidate all their stores. So, but yeah, anyway, a little bit of drama on X for you, or just out there in the news world. And we also have one more with regard to Cracker Barrel. Did you hear about this? They updated their brand, their logo, for the first time since 1977. Now, why would they remove the cracker and the barrel? Look what they did. This is what they changed it to. Cracker Barrel. That's it. Plain. There's no cracker and there's no barrel. Cracker Barrel has been rebranded for the first time since 1977. Now, I wanted to share this one first because the amount of attention that this post got, almost 300,000 likes. That's a little viral, and it's obviously not been ratioed. Not in the least. So, and then this one comes from Colin Rugg. New Cracker Barrel reveals a new logo. CEO Julie Fels Messino says people love their new rebrand. Quote, honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. Messino told GMA while discussing the overall rebrand. This logo is depressing, which it is. Now, yeah, everybody will tell you it looks wonderful if you're only speaking to people who are working for you, or if you choose to put yourself in a little bubble, little echo chamber. So no matter what you say, no matter who you're talking to, they're going to agree with you on everything. Yeah, of course you're going to think this brand is the greatest ever, which it's not, dude. In the comments, if you decide to leave a comment, let me know what you think about this. I think it's atrocious. I think it's get woke, go broke, in overdrive. And look, they announced this a few years ago that they were going to do this. They were also remodeling the inside of all their Cracker Barrels. I haven't been in a few years, and I love the rustic look of it, the classic look of it. And apparently they're changing way too much inside, to the point where they're even changing the menu, and it's not good, man. Yeah, apparently they've gone ultra woke. Even not this past June, but the June before, they turned the Cracker Barrel logo into, of course, the rainbow, and it said LGBTQ real big across, which I believe is in one of these string of comments. Somebody shared an image of that, which I caught before I started the show. But this is from Benny Johnson. Cracker Barrel completely changed their iconic logo for the first time in 47 years, and it's absolutely horrible. When will they learn? Obviously not soon enough. And this is from Brick Suit. New CEO of Cracker Barrel decides to scrap a nostalgic, beloved logo that reminds people of simpler times and replaces it with a soulless, improved logo. Shaking my damn head. And I got one more from Jesse Kelly. They took away the cracker and the barrel. See, that wasn't my joke. That was his joke. Or is it a joke? I mean, maybe, he is a cracker, I guess. So anyway, they took away the cracker and the barrel. What even is the point now? There is no point. But that's what they want. They want to destroy anything that's tradition. Get rid of tradition, get rid of any kind of values, anything that's reminiscent of family and good times and just anything. They want to get rid of anything and everything that makes America America. Cracker Barrel dumps old logo in support, or in an effort to rebrand. But yeah, they've been working on this for a couple of years. From Eric Russell, as a brand designer that worked at Cracker Barrel for almost 9 years, watching them commit brand suicide is, well, something. That is wild. Looks like he just linked it to the site, didn't he? Or maybe not. No, just, to another X post. Oh, the home-style dishes you love, made with care. And so they got 113,000 followers. I mean, look, I can only imagine. From 2016? What? From 2012? Dude, they're not posting shit on X. Okay, I didn't expect that. That was unexpected. I was expecting a lot of ruthlessness to be happening here. But let's see what crackerbarrel.com looks like. See if they've actually changed it to an absurd degree just yet. Brown sugar lattes. What the fuck is a brown sugar? What the hell is that? You're supposed to get that shit at like fucking Starbucks or some shit. Or at a fucking Dairy Queen or something. Old Timers Breakfast. Okay, that sounds familiar. Crispy Tender Dippers. Butter Pecan Sticky Buns. I don't know. Not sure about that. Maybe that would work. But what do we got here? I'm just curious to see if they've got any like information with regard to their rebranding. If they've got images of what the new restaurant looks like, what it's supposed to look like at least. Not sure, but yeah, they've already got the logo. They already got it up here. Dine-in menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, delivery, curbside pickup. Yeah. $5 take-home meals. All right. I'm sure the portions are oh so huge. All right. Well, I'm curious, man. I'm curious to see what it looks like. I guess maybe I could just do a quick search here, see if I can find something with regard to its new exterior. I think it's the exterior for the most part that they were remodeling. See if there might be something here. I don't know. I heard there was a lot of pushback from it. New remodel tour. I mean, this is on YouTube. I don't know how long it is. It's probably way too long. 10 minutes. Oh my god, this is slow. Incredibly slow. Cracker Barrel makeover. Here we go. This might have been about a year ago, right? Because I know I read about this. Oh no, that was this year. Okay. When Cracker Barrel took away the last piece of nostalgia you had left. Come on. Well, any fucking day, sweetheart. No. Dude, it look... Dude, if you're in Florida or if you've been to Florida before, this looks exactly like a Village Inn. It looks identical to a freaking Village Inn. It looks like a Denny's. It looks like fucking Denny's. That doesn't even look like a Cracker Barrel. They did, man. They took all the nostalgia away. Where's all the old like pots and pans and the washboards and all the rustic... Like, where's the corrugated metal? There's no more corrugated metal. Dude, that is atrocious. Holy shit. All right. There might be an article actually below that, but no, it doesn't look like it. But anyway, I'll link that. And I don't know if it's really worth looking at this.
All right, what's up? What's up?
We already
Got
saw.
Catfished here. Yeah. Little Luke in the back. So hi.
All right, here we go. We're checking out the gift shop. I'm sure that's copyright all up and down. Try to bring this down just a little. Actually, I'm just going to kill the volume because I'm just interested in seeing if they changed it. Now the gift shop looks more or less similar. The last time I was there, I was probably there like maybe probably 6 years ago. I've got one about maybe 20 minutes from where I live. It's over on the other side of the county. But yeah, I don't get out that way very often. And after they pulled all this shit, I don't really want to give them my money now. All right, gift shop. They did change it. Well, I don't know, though. Actually, not really. This looks like the Cracker Barrel where I live, the last time I saw it. No, I mean, the walls look a little different. Like they... I don't really think they changed it, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, they got the big fireplace there. All right. I don't think they changed this one. The new remodel tour, I mean, he said they changed it, but the one that they showed over here on Fox News, that one looked like a fucking nightmare. I mean, it looked like it It chewed up, swallowed, and spat out a Village Inn. And that's just what it looks like. I'm trying to think of another diner that Village Inn resembles that might be nationwide. It's not a like a Waffle House. It's not like that at all. It's probably gonna be a crappy image. Yeah. Oh shit! I didn't mean to do that. I just meant to click on the image. But yeah, it looks damn near like a Village Inn. I mean, basically. I know these images are small, but yeah, like right here, that kind of looked like the Cracker Barrel. I mean, it kind of did. I'm not interested in that, but I mean, like, you take the flowers away, all the whatever. That doesn't even look like Village Inn at all. No, man, like Village Inn looks like this. This is what Village Inn looks like. This looks like your just everyday classic looking diner. Like the checkout counter up here in the front that you pay when you leave. And that's what it looks like. That's a Village Inn. And Cracker Barrel more or less looks a little too similar to that. Whatever. I'm not interested in the food, but I don't know. I guess you can be the judge. I think that was a really stupid decision. I think they probably would have saved hundreds of millions of dollars if they just left it the way it was, because nobody asked for this. Nobody wanted this, but they did it anyway. Boycott Cracker Barrel until they reinstate the old cracker and his barrel from Planet of Memes. Absolutely. I have a feeling that may probably end up happening, although there was, if you remember, if you were part of the whole culture war, I want to say it was last year, the last big push for Pride Month, Cracker Barrel, how they changed their logo to rainbow colors, and I believe it was during that time that they announced that they were going to remodel their store. So there was an extra push for people to boycott Cracker Barrel, but there was a boycott of Cracker Barrel last year. Maybe even the year before. It's whenever they announced the remodel, people dug into who the CEO was, and she's got a pretty woke history. Like, she worked for some other entity, or she's involved with like some activism, nonprofit bullshit. I can't remember exactly what it was, but apparently she's got a history. So anyway, this is from hard segue. We're going to move on to the next one. Well, yeah, I guess it's a hard segue. I thought that was going to pertain to school lunches or whatever. But anyway, from Congressman Gabe Amo, it's back to school season. And thanks to Trump's reckless tariffs, prices for essential supplies are too high. Since every penny matters to families, I'm working in Congress to stop these unnecessary price hikes. It's so funny how they just write down the prices, but they have, where's the receipts? And the Century Foundation? What's the Century Foundation? What indeed? What is the Century Foundation? Actually, let me just open it up over here. The Century Foundation. It sounds like maybe some activist organization. Call me crazy, but I bet it probably is. Oh shit, why the hell does it keep doing that shit? The Century Foundation. Here we go. Let's look into this. The Century Foundation is a progressive, independent, nonprofit think tank based in, of course, New York City, with an office in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. It focuses on public policy research and analysis, particularly in areas of economic, racial, and gender equity, as well as U.S. foreign policy, USAID. TCF produces books, reports and other publications, and also hosts events and workshops. They have focus areas. The progressive perspective. It advocates for policies that promote social and economic justice, often with a focus on marginalized groups, historical context, and yada, yada, yada. So forgive me if I don't take your post and these numbers as the gospel truth. I somehow kind of, sort of, a little bit doubt it, that it's gone up that much. Really, really have doubts on it. It would be nice if he actually took the 15 minutes and drove his ass up to a Walmart and actually purchased those products and actually showed us the receipts to prove that a notebook costs $5.48, folders cost $8.88, headphones are $23. No, dude, you know what? What's hilarious about this post is he assumes that nobody shops on Amazon, nobody goes to Walmart.com, Nobody actually goes out and buys shit. Like, dude, it's back to school time. Everybody knows what this shit costs. Even Democrats know. Democrat voters, they know how much shit costs. Now, the index cards, maybe. It's an absolute insane price, but yeah, maybe it's $2.31 for one. And for a binder, $13? I don't know, man. I think that he might, this Century Foundation might be overinflating that, just a tad. I don't know. I just have just a little feeling that perhaps that's the case. And what was he throwing out? Notebooks, right? Notebooks was $5.48. Now, I remember... Dude, why the fuck does it keep opening up this shit? Because back when I was in school, like when I was in middle school and high school... Oh, come on. This is so stupid. But back when I was in elementary, middle school, high school, notebooks at Walmart were a dime. They were 10 cents. Back in my day, notebooks were only a dime. You can get 3 for 3 dimes. Oh my god, dude, will you just fucking open this already? Alright, this is so stupid. This is so fucking stupid. Are you finally opening up, or what? Oh my god. Alright, fine, whatever. Let's just do it. I want to look at Walmart, though. I don't want to look on Amazon. Because I know Walmart's going to have a more reasonable price. Oh, you're doing the same shit here, too. Dude, when did Walmart start doing this shit? You got to press and hold this stupid button. Look, I was holding it until it did something else. Okay. And then it goes to this, and then it's like, oh, we're sorry. We're having technical difficulties for some reason. Oh, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Walmart, fuck off. Come on, dude. It's fucking bullshit. And as soon as I move away from it, it's probably going to restart it. Good God, Walmart. If Walmart does this shit on the regular, I'm never shopping Walmart.com again. There's no fucking way. And I get that I'm not signed in. I get it. But come on, dude. Can I finally look this up? Do I finally have your permission, Walmart? Oh, fuck this. Oh, fuck that. Hell no, dude. I am pissed now. Fucking asshole fucking Walmart. Don't shop at Walmart.com. Fuck are they doing that fucking shit anyway? It's so stupid. Whatever. It fixed it. Let's see. You can buy, how many are there? 6 of them? You can buy 6 for $10. Like a little bit more than $1. That's still a ridiculous price. But I would assume that Walmart is probably selling them for $1 each. That was what I was looking for. I'm sure they've got spiral notebooks for 99 cents. I haven't been there. Look, this one's only $8.50. $8.50 for 6 of them. So, yeah, like $1.25. Give or take. Or you can buy 12 of them for, that's not a better deal at all. But anyway, that's probably the best deal they're going to have on Amazon. But it's a far cry from $5.50 for a notebook. And folders, dude, give me a break. I'm sure you can get one on Amazon for like $0.25. Are you kidding? Freaking folders. Oh, did I fuck up? School folders with pockets. Even with the thing in the middle. Look at that. 25 of them for $10. 25 for $10 right there. There you go. And you get 4 packs of the fancy ones, the 5-star one, or the mead ones. Damn, it's been a while since I shopped this stuff. All right. Anyway. Let's get back to the point. That was stupid. That was a waste of time. I apologize for that. Fucking Walmart. All right, John Kennedy. Senator Kennedy, it is crazy for any official to think that they get to pick and choose which laws to follow. It's even crazier to choose to disobey laws that protect your community from violent sex offenders who shouldn't be in our country. Yeah, just a little bit. So this one, it's from FoxNews.com pertaining to migrant crimes against children. They pile up in Boston area as mayor slams Bondi over sanctuary warning. ICE arrests include Haitian and Guatemalan nationals across Massachusetts region. I'm not going to play that. Come on, it's almost 8 minutes. But I'll link this if you want to watch this video. It's just probably her just like incoherently rambling about the dumbest shit and how it's all Republicans' fault. It's all their fault that these poor, innocent, undocumented citizens are being horrifically kidnapped and abused. Numerous migrant suspects have been arrested on charges involving abuse of children in recent years in eastern Massachusetts. And dude, the Democrats, they're covering for them. They're protecting these people. The cases have returned to the fore as Boston Mayor Michelle Wu fired back Tuesday as Attorney General Pam Bondi over her letter threatening potential withholding of federal funds or civil action if the city doesn't cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. And also remember, Democrats, they want to push and normalize minor attracted persons, or MAPs as they're called, pedophiles and hebephiles, people who prey on children sexually. They want to normalize that. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think they were actually trying to add that shit to the pride flag because, you know, they've added every other freaking thing under the sun. And I believe that they were met with some pushback within that community, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did add it and I just didn't get the memo. So I don't know. But anyway, the cases have returned to the fore. Let's see. I think I already did that one. Yeah. So a child under 16 was allegedly raped at a migrant shelter by Haitian national Corey Bernard Alvarez, who was arrested in August of 24, according to ICE's Boston field office. Was that the dude that we saw get arrested? No. Never mind. This dude's Haitian. They speak French, don't they? We cannot allow any significant non-citizen threat to the children of our communities to potentially reoffend. ERO Boston will continue to prioritize public safety by arresting and removing egregious non-citizen offenders from New England, said then Boston ICE official Todd Lyons, now the agency's national director. A 10-year-old was allegedly molested by his neighbor, a Haitian migrant in a Boston suburb. Akeem Mark Desire, 18, was arrested in September on the charge and was further detained by ICE. Desire reportedly entered the country via plane in Miami and then traveled to Boston. Another minor of unconfirmed age in the Boston area was also allegedly horrifically victimized by Guatemalan national minor Steven de Paz Munoz. He represents a significant threat to our neighborhoods, said the Boston ICE Field Office Director Patricia Hyde. And that was November 2024 when he was arrested. We owe it to the children of our New England communities to prioritize public safety above everything else. ERO Boston stands committed to arresting and removing egregious non-citizen threats from the community. And so on and so forth. You know, it goes on from there. But anyway, ICE continues arresting criminal aliens. Elmer Sola of El Salvador, he faces 11 sexual assault-related counts, according to Newsweek. That's who Democrats are protecting. You hear that, Democrats? You're protecting these people. People who molest children. And there are a lot of them. Remember, during the Biden administration, Latin American countries all over Latin America, they emptied out their prisons and they sent them packing and heading up to the United States. You know what? I would be curious. They probably don't report them, but I would be curious to see what the crime rates are looking like in countries throughout South and Central America. I bet the crime rates are insanely low because they're not there anymore. Out of state, this is from Rep. Stephen Horsford. Let's see. This one, I actually kind of appreciate that they actually talked about this. Out-of-state Wall Street firms shouldn't own thousands of homes in the Las Vegas Valley. I've consistently fought corporate landlords driving up housing costs, introducing bill after bill to protect renters, expand home ownership, and put working families first. And this is a Democrat, by the way. And I actually appreciate that he's actually talking about this issue. I really wish Republicans would step up that effort because a lot of young Americans are paying attention to the housing market because they've been told since they were little to have the American dream is to own your own house, your own white picket fence, have a nice shiny car in the driveway, and virtually no young Americans, unless they find themselves in the top like 1, maybe in the top 10%, they're never going to own a house. Not at this price. Because the average American household is not making $105,000 a year. They're not. And that's how much you have to make to afford the average priced house in America with the mortgage rates that they're offering right now. Even with excellent mortgage rates, dude, you're talking a $418,000 house. Your mortgage is going to be well over $2,000 a year. It is insane. And that doesn't even factor in the homeowner's insurance, which you're going to have to insure on a $400,000 house. And I can only imagine how much that's going to cost. So anyway, they were responding to Las Vegas Review-Journal. A Dallas-based Wall Street traded firm owns 3,397 rental homes in the Las Vegas Valley, according to the company. Yeah, they should absolutely find a way to just ban this outright. They really should, because it's crippling our housing market. And I mean, I don't know if that's way too authoritarian, maybe, or maybe anti-business. I don't know. But homes should be reserved for single families, individual or nuclear families. That's what houses should be owned by. Not by big corporations. They should be owned by the people. And that's what they're doing. They're gobbling up all these neighborhoods. Or they're just building entire neighborhoods brand new, and they're just using them all as rentals. They're doing that too. They're also doing that here in Florida. So let's see. This company is likely the second largest homeowner in the Las Vegas Valley. So I'll click on this article here, and I'll just link it. Did she also? She probably shared. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Here we go. From horseford.house.gov. He shared this bill, I'm assuming, right? Oh, no, it's from his website. Come on, man. I don't want to read your stuff. I mean, if anybody's going to frame it, to their liking, it's going to be that one. I mean, I'm hesitant to do it. But anyway, yeah, Las Vegas, I heard that the housing market is one of the worst in the country with regard to how expensive the rates of the cost of new homes. Apparently, it has really skyrocketed since COVID started. All right, so let me just check this real quick. This company is likely the second largest homeowner in the Las Vegas Valley. I mean, we got the gist of it, but check this out, though. They're called Invitation Homes, a publicly traded real estate investment trust. Make this a little larger. Confirmed the number in an email response to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. The company, with a current market cap of $18 billion, owns approximately 85,138 homes across the country. That is crazy. And I'm sure there's probably somebody listening to this. You've probably rented from a corporation before, if not a house, in an apartment complex. And it's a nightmare. It sucks having to rent from these large companies, because year after year, they always raise your rent. They always do it. And then when they finally force you out because, you started paying like $650. I mean, I'm talking once upon a time. I mean, good luck finding that today. But like, realistically, if it's a one-bedroom apartment, let's say that you find one for like, I don't know, $1,100 or $1,200 or whatever, which is still insane to me. But you move in, next year it's going to go up to like $13. Next year it's like $14.50. The next year it's like $16.75. And they just keep doing that until they finally force you out. And then somebody else moves in, and then they'll rent to them for like $1,250 or $1,300. Maybe just a tad bit more. It's just scumbaggery. I mean, is it really evil? I mean, look, they've got the money. They have the resources to build the properties. So I can't really exactly, call them evil for doing it. It's just the nature of capitalism. Like if I had $1 billion, and if I wanted to build my own apartment complex and rent it out to people, I mean, who are you to say that I'm not allowed to do that? It's my money. I bought the property. I own the property. If you don't want to rent here, then just don't rent here. So I understand the argument on both sides. The issue I have is single family homes, like just individual lots. And they zone them for residential use. It's not like that they zone these neighborhoods for commercial use, which they're technically, I mean, no, I guess not. No, because they are renting and people do live there. So it is residential, because that's what a residential is. It's where people live. So I get it. It's just, it's only fueling the housing problem, and it's only going to keep getting worse unless somehow we figure out a way to, I don't know, maybe cap the amount of homes that they have. But even if they do that, even if you say like no company can own more than, I don't know, 25 homes or whatever, they're going to find a loophole. They're just going to create like 1,000 different LLCs that are going to exist underneath this big umbrella company. And in a roundabout way, they're still going to own 25,000 houses. That's probably the dirty tricks they would play. So anyway, this is from Caroline Levitt Good journalists who actually care about the facts should dig deeper into this instead of regurgitating fake statistics to push the false narrative that DC is safe when everyone knows it's not. That's in response to Eric Daugherty. Holy crap, the chairman of the DC Police Union reveals how extensive the fraud was in hiding the true DC crime stats. Higher-ups were going to crime scenes and saying, don't write that one down, or don't add that to the list, or put that down as a more minor offense, and so on and so forth. So let's check this out. It's a few minutes.
So can you confirm for
Let me turn it up.
that there have been police officers and detectives and members of law enforcement in DC who on the scene of crimes have been told, yeah, don't write that one down, or don't add that to the list, or put that down as
absolutely,
a
I'm sure
more
they did
minor offense?
Absolutely. That's one of the chief complaints of our members when we go around and talk to them, is that they respond to the scenes of these violent crimes, and inevitably you'll have a captain or a commander or sometimes a lieutenant show up on the scene and advise them to take a report for a lesser offense.
Sure.
One of the things that we see them do often is sometimes
Even
there'll be
though
a
it's up to the
shooting or a
arresting
stabbing,
officer, if I'm not
and if
mistaken.
the victim is uncooperative with the police, which is not uncommon in some areas of the city,
Or the first
they'll be
officer on
directed to
scene.
take an injured person to the hospital report, which is not even a crime at all. It's an incident report. Sometimes you'll have a robbery. It'll be reported as a theft. Other times you'll have burglaries that are reported as unlawful entry or thefts. This is something that's been, unfortunately, part and parcel of the police department for some time, and we're very skeptical that these crime stats are accurate.
That's extraordinary. What is the motivation? Why are these commanders or
Fucking
higher-ups
ridiculous, man.
arriving on the scene during apprehensions and telling police officers to indicate something
The hell is
other
that?
than what actually happened at the scene?
Well, the only explanation could be to keep the crime stats down, because politically that's expedient for the police department and elected officials in the district. I mean, let's go back to how we got
Don't
here,
believe
which
your
is that
lying
in
eyes.
2020, the D.C. City Council
safest
passed the
city in 30
Comprehensive
years.
Policing and Justice Reform Act, which was a sweeping piece of legislation designed to hamstring police officers, to reduce the size, scope, and responsibilities of police officers. In addition, it also prevented us from holding criminals accountable even when they're convicted of crimes. And so now here we are 5 years later, the police department with an authorized strength of 4,000 sworn members, we only have 3,180, leaving us with over 800 vacancies for the position of police officer. In order to make up for that gap, the police department uses 2 million hours of mandatory overtime.
Look, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Washington, D.C. got rid of the sex offender registry because, oh, it's so discriminatory. They've already paid their debt to society. They shouldn't have to be tracked and followed and have to report every time that they create a new email account or every time that they join a social media. They should be fine just to do whatever they do. We do live in America with our democracy.
To cover the demand for police officers. And so because of that, crime has skyrocketed in the district. And one of the things that we think is going on in the police department, which who knows how high up that those directives are coming from, is to make sure that these crime stats are reported in the most favorable way possible.
Evil.
I mean, what you're saying obviously substantiates what we heard from President Trump. He said they were opening.
It's evil. Why? Why? If it's a dangerous city, okay, fine, combat it. Everybody knows that all these cities are dangerous. So it wouldn't matter how bad the stats look. Either way, it's a dangerous city. I know that they're trying to make themselves look good. That's really what it is. I'm sure the mayor is just giving orders to the police chief, who hands it down to all the officers and say, or that they'll tell them just to make lesser crimes whenever possible so we look better. But you're not serving the people. You're serving your own self-interest. You're not abiding by your oath that you take to serve and protect. I mean, they should all be jailed for doing this. I mean, this is, how is this not like outright fraud? This is absolutely fraud. And God knows what else. I mean, there's got to be other crimes tied to this, surely.
An investigation, and that he didn't
Betrayal
believe,
of the
because
American
what happened,
people.
I don't have to tell you, I'm speaking to the audience at large, but when President Trump said he wanted to bring in National Guard, all we heard from many quarters in the media and in leadership in Washington was, this is ridiculous. Our numbers are lower than they've been in a long time in Washington, D.C. We don't need National Guard presence on our streets. I mean,
yeah, 400 murders a year. That's really, really
very
good.
Egregious. This is lying to the people, the constituents of Washington, D.C., and lying to the federal government about what your numbers really are.
Well, you're right, Martha.
Yep.
It is a crime under D.C. code.
I believe it.
It would be false swearing and it would be false reporting. And those are statutes in the D.C. code that make it illegal to do that, to falsify police reports or to change the data. So if the DOJ is in fact investigating, I hope they do. And if they find that somebody was intentionally manipulating the data, they should be held accountable. It's
I
a
hope
crime
they
in the
arrest
District
every
of
single
Columbia.
one of them.
Frankly, it's a disservice to the police department. It's a disservice to the city. And most of all, it's a disservice to the victims whose police reports are not being properly handled, and we're not dedicating the proper resources to the crimes that they've been victims of. So something needs to change here, and this is an important issue.
I mean, isn't that what the left is always talking about, like victimhood and victim mentality, and you have to overcome your victim, I'm a survivor, and all that shit? But they're manufacturing it. I think that's part of their intention. They're trying to manufacture all this crime so they can essentially farm victims and more victims so they can get the help that they need and whatever. It's just absolutely insane. And I just cannot believe that they fudge the numbers and they don't even care because they've never been held accountable for it. Reported crime numbers, actual crime numbers. Good one. Both PDs I worked at massaged the stats before reporting them. I'm sure it happens all over the place. It probably does, especially when you have perhaps a police chief who might want to run for political office one day, which I'm sure is pretty common. I'm sure that's not rare when they do stuff like that. Oh yeah, I forgot my music. Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It's no longer Republicans versus Democrats. It's America versus communism. It is. That is what it's boiled down to at this point. It really is. And it's been like that for like 9 years now, if not longer than that. The whole social justice warrior bullshit started, I would say, probably in the early 2010s. And it's just gotten way worse. And they're manufacturing all this shit from college universities. That's where most of this shit's coming out of. And in recent years, they have handed it down into the high school areas too. And I know like COVID woke up a lot of parents to see like what's going on because the kids were doing school from home. So the parents who were lucky enough to be at home, well, I say that, kind of lightly because a lot of people were furloughed from their jobs, but a lot of parents who were there to observe their kids, they saw some of the crazy shit that they were learning and they freaked out. Rightfully so. Let's see. Crime stats are absolutely being treated this way in most of the dim cities. Remember Alvin Bragg's Day 1 memo. He announced loud and proud that he was downgrading a lot of serious crimes. The funny thing is, I didn't think he had that power. I thought DAs, AGs, and law enforcement officers were mandated to enforcing the laws as they were written, not deciding to change the application of the law. Absolutely. It sounds almost illegal. Amen. Because it is. We own the city. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's like they want to play the part of Judge Dredd. It's like they're going to just hand down the law as they see it. I mean, like Judge did. I guess he didn't really do that. I mean, he still applied the law as it was written. He didn't just make up shit that didn't exist. But, yeah, bad comparison. Anyway, D.C. is rigging crime stats in broad daylight, turning shootings into hospital visits and robberies into thefts. They're also creating patients for the psychiatrists and the therapists and those, what were they trying to replace officers with social workers or some stupid shit like that. That's what they want. They don't need cops. They need, crime crisis counselors or whatever the fuck they call them. But if you ask or poll a retired Chicago NYPD cops and detectives and bosses, they will say they were doing the same thing at their precincts. You'll see that it was the norm to downgrade or get rid of complaints. Yeah, I'm sure they did it all the time. I'm sure that there were probably cops, like if a woman was raped and she went to the hospital, I'm sure sometimes detectives would probably try to talk her out of it because, well, the issue that we have, honey, is that we're so backlogged with the rape kits and it could be years before we find out, and, statute of limitations, and I just don't want you to get your hopes up. Basically kind of framing it in a way that it's pointless to even file a report because, we're never going to get the guy. That way, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying that wouldn't exactly be the most surprising thing I've ever heard. Sounds like what happened in Houston, except they wrote them up, but then they were just filed. Yeah. That means Omar might still be alive. Don't know about that. Yeah. So anyway, all right. I'm going a little over on time. I think Oh, shit, man. I'm over 2 hours. All right, so I got to move things along. Caroline Leavitt, the New York Times chief White House correspondent, Peter Baker, is indistinguishable from a junior Democrat comm staffer, except he's even worse at his job. Peter was so excited to criticize President Trump that he didn't even realize the article he shared was updated because it dishonestly compared last year's DC Restaurant Week data to non-Restaurant Week data this year. The truth is, restaurant reservations in DC were up 30% just 2 days ago. Democrats and their left-wing media friends hate that President Trump is finally cleaning up DC. Reservations plunge across DC restaurants after Trump's police takeover. And then summer reservations rally as DC Summer Restaurant Week kicks off amid federal takeover. Quite hilarious. And she's responding to Peter Baker right there. Trump claims his militarized takeover of DC has made people feel safer to go out to restaurants, but in fact, restaurants in DC have seen the number of diners plummet more than 25% since he sent feds into the street. No, dude. Just follow your common sense, of which he's clearly lacking. If there's cops everywhere, why would you be afraid to go to restaurants? If there's no cops anywhere and you know the city's already crime-filled, why would you be excited to go out and go to restaurants and shit? That doesn't make any sense, dude. But he knows what he's doing. He's just evil. Anyway, from FBI Director Cash Patel, federal partners are now at over 550 arrests in Washington, D.C. since President Trump's push to clean up crime here began. 66 more arrests across all federal agencies just last night. This was posted 11 hours ago. FBI joined partners in 41 of those arrests, recovered 6 illegal firearms with 8 drug seizures. They are saving lives every day thanks to the men and women in the field. And this one's from Pete Stauber. Protecting America's agricultural sector is vital for our strategic national security and a strong economy. No longer will we incentivize farmers to sacrifice prime farmland for unreliable solar farms with Chinese-made solar panels. Thank you to Secretary Rollins and the Trump administration for safeguarding America's farming future. Of course, he responded to Secretary Rollins' big news for the American farmers. I just announced in Lebanon, Tennessee, effective immediately, American farmland will no longer use taxpayer dollars to build solar farms. Good. Millions of acres of prime farmland is left unusable so Green New Deal subsidized solar panels can be built. This destruction of our farms and prime soil is taking away the futures of the next generation of farmers and the future of our country. Starting today, USDA will no longer deploy programs to fund solar or wind projects on productive farmland, ending massive taxpayer handouts, also ending the use of panels made by foreign adversaries like China. This is America First. Isn't that what helped drive the Dust Bowl situation during the Great Depression? Didn't the government incentivize people to not grow crops or something like that, and it led to just this big Dust Bowl situation? I don't know. Maybe I'm not I might not be remembering correctly, but I thought it was something along those lines. All right. So we'll head down to the next one from Secretary Chris Wright. Let's be honest. Let's engage in real science around climate change. The Trump administration is excited to have an open debate on facts, not fear, over the next 4 years. Let's hear what he has to say about climate change.
Science is a process of challenge and engagement and
debate
and wrestling with data. And if the data doesn't agree with your model is wrong. Where the science is this top-down, authority-driven thing used with COVID, to me, was the climate movement. And fast forward, the science told you what to do. But as you said, Charlie, look at those critics. They critique the authors. 5 skeptics.
But yeah, I remember the buzzwords that they kept saying. Just trust the science. Trust the science. We are the science. We are the science. Dude, they're ruining science across the board. They really
Skeptical
are.
of what? They presented, these are 5 highly distinguished scientists. One of them was Undersecretary for Science in the Obama administration, Provost at Caltech, PhD from MIT. All of those scientists were accomplished scientists that are also tired of this censorship of the science.
I would certainly hope so.
Censoring real science and real process of engagement. But even on my CNN interview a couple weeks ago, I went on to talk about the climate report. There are 0 questions about climate change. 0. They want to impugn the writers or impugn the way we reference people. They want to find little things. What we want to talk about is the data. Let's talk about climate science. It's a real phenomenon. It's a slow-moving phenomenon, not even remotely close to the world's biggest problem, but it's used by the left to justify big government and top-down control of everything.
Absolutely, 100%. It's all about power, all about a power grab. and having full control over you, the citizen, which they see you as a nothing, a peasant, an absolute nothing. And look, I've lived near the beach for over 20, or, well, yeah, it is actually over 20 years at this point. And the beach that I live near, it's called Indian Shores. It's in Florida, and it's a very narrow beach. It's not a very wide beach like Treasure Island or Clearwater or St. Pete Beach. It's a really narrow strip of sand. And I've been pretty much down the street from it for, yeah, about 20 years. And the beach, we haven't lost any of it. I mean, yeah, there's been some beach erosion with storms, tropical storms and hurricanes and stuff, but they put it back together and everything. But back then when I first moved here, even when I was in high school in the early 2000s, they were talking about rapid sea level rising. By the year 2100, most of Florida's peninsula is going to be underwater, and this, that, and the other. Well, now it's been like 22, 23 years since I was in high school, and 20 years since I first moved here. And yeah, the beach looks exactly the same. Looks exactly the same. We haven't lost an inch of sand. They're completely full of shit. Look, sea levels, maybe they are rising. They probably are rising because we're still coming out of the last ice age. If you follow your common sense, it might lead you to conclude that, yeah, the ocean levels might still be rising because we're still exiting the ice age, a process which takes thousands, if not tens of thousands of years. There's no human, even during the most rapid period of global warming that occurs naturally, a human will not even notice across their entire lifetime, even if they live 100 years, will they even be able to remotely notice any level change in sea levels at all. They're just not going to notice because it rises extremely slowly. It takes many thousands of years for it to have an effect that they're talking about, that it's going to have an effect on us. Not in dozens, not in 12 years, like the left keeps wanting to throw out. Oh my God, it's going to be a runaway climate change. We only have 12 years left, which they've been saying for what, at least 12 years now? They keep pushing the date back. Oh, we only got 12 more years. Next year, we only got 12 more years, because they depend on their Democrat constituents, their progressives, to have TikTok brain, to have goldfish brain, where they just have constant, just long-term memory loss. It's fucking retarded.
Let's be honest. Let's engage in real science, as you said. That's what we're about. And I'm excited to have that debate over 4 years. We're gonna end a lot of children's nightmares.
Amen.
We're gonna end a lot of people trying.
That's another thing, man. That's another thing that really pissed me off about how the school system these days, not all of them, but a lot of these leftist or progressive teachers are talking about how the future is going to be, it's going to be dangerous, it's going to be nightmarish because of the runaway climate change and all that. Like that, when I was in high school, the projection of our future, it was like the Jetsons or like flying cars, and everybody just looked happy-go-lucky, and we didn't have to work nearly as hard as we're currently working, because a lot of things are going to be robotically assisted, and the world's just going to be more of a utopia than it is now. But that's not really how they're painting the picture these days. It's all like just like nightmare dystopia. That's what they're painting the picture for our children. Like there were times my daughter came home, she was freaked out because they were telling her that the entire state of Florida was going to be underwater by like the year like 2150 or some shit. And I had to reassure her that no, it's not going to, it's extremely gradual over many, many thousands of years.
And to be pushed around and bullied by people that don't know what they're talking about. Like I've spent 20 years studying climate science and physical data, and the people who are passionate about it never want to debate me because they don't know anything about it. But we're going to have that debate, whether they want it or not.
Good. Amen, dude. Awesome. And I hope he actually brings it. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Secretary Chris Wright, is he Department of Energy? Yeah, the 17th U.S. Secretary of Energy. So there you have that. All right. Go to the next one here. Nick Sordor. Just in, J.D. Vance roasts the leftist protesters harassing National Guard troops. And he quotes it, but I'll just play it so you can hear it yourself.
Of what? The D.C. has a terrible crime problem? You just got to look around. Obviously, D.C. has a terrible crime problem. The Department of Justice statistics back it up. The FBI statistics back it up. Just talk to a resident of this city, this beautiful, great American city. Don't they deserve... I mean, we talk about human rights. We hear these people outside screaming, free D.C. Let's free D.C. from lawlessness. Let's free Washington, D.C. from one of the highest murder rates in the entire world. Let's free Washington, D.C.
protesters
so that young families can walk around and feel safe.
They repeat anything that's told to them.
That's what we're trying to free D.C. from.
Bunch of collectivists.
It's kind of bizarre.
Can't think for themselves.
We have a bunch of old, primarily white people who are out there protesting the
I'm sure.
policies that keep people safe when they've never felt danger in their entire lives.
Oh, shit. Oh, that is so true. I bet that is absolutely true. Every one of those protesters probably came from the suburbs, these big-ass, fancy-ass, stupid-ass houses, and they've never seen, like, one day's worth of hard crime in their entire lives. Absolutely brain dead. All right, so let's go to USDOT rapid response. Truck drivers who can't speak English are not eligible for a CDL, and when laws are broken, lives can be lost. Fox 23 main reports on Secretary Sean Duffy and FMCSA's investigation into both the driver and White Hawk carrier. This cannot happen again. What happened?
Growing number of federal agencies now investigating blue states that
issue
driver's licenses to illegal aliens after a deadly crash in Florida. Driver Harjinder Singh, an illegal alien from India, has been charged in the deaths of 3 people. Video shows a van slamming into the big rig Singh was driving when police say he made an illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said Washington State and California both wrongly issued a commercial driver's license to Singh. Plus, New Mexico failed to conduct an English language proficiency test when their officers previously pulled him over for speeding. Federal authorities say Singh could only answer 2 out of 12 basic driving questions correctly and identify only 1 in 4 road signs.
Good Lord, dude. And if you saw that video, he did not give a flying crap when he turned. He didn't look or anything. He was just busting a U-ey in the middle of the freaking turnpike. The Florida Turnpike. Basically an interstate highway. Unbelievable. So from Congressman Robert Garcia. Right now, Pam Bondi has the power to release the full Epstein files. She should do it immediately. And Bill Barr agreed that she has the authority to do so. We can't let Trump slow roll our investigation. Take a little
right now, today, nonsense. Pam Bondi and Donald Trump have the power
I agree.
To
release them. You said you would. Release them.
Files
just do it already.
Epstein records. Today, tonight, right now. No one is stopping them. No one coming in front of us that's going to be deposed can change that the single most important thing that we need are those records. And Bill Barr, by the way, said as much in his testimony.
Well, Bill Barr said
when pressed, if Pam Bondi could release the files today, and we agree with Bill Barr. She has the power to release all of the documents now, and Friday is not good enough. We'll see what we get Friday, but they're going to slow roll what they want to put out. And so we're going to make sure that every step of the way that we verify what's in these documents, we protect the victims, but we're not going to rest until the entire records and files are with us, and that we can finally eventually get that out to the public.
Well, if anything, those records are going to hurt Democrats more than they're going to hurt Republicans. It's almost like Democrats know that they're not going to release them because there's probably just nothing there because the Biden administration already destroyed them all the relevant stuff. Just my opinion. That's all. Just my opinion. I'm allowed to have one. From Nanette D. Barragan, Trump's reckless tariffs have caused the biggest summer price spike for your vegetables since 1947. I should have included that up above. When he tears up trade agreements with our allies, it's working families who pay the price at the grocery store. Trump promised to bring down prices on day one on so many things, but the cost of living just keeps going up because of his policies and Republicans' refusal to stand up to him. No, again, Biden, obviously. I mean, not that anybody gives a shit. I mean, I'm like one of the only people that actually saw this. So she's responding to ABC News. Fresh government data showed an eye-popping 38% surge in the wholesale price of vegetables in July. Which, by the way, the majority of vegetables, which we already went over, are not even imported. They're made right here, grown right here in the United States. And about half of all vegetables consumed by Americans are grown right in California. A continued rise of that magnitude could noticeably hike vegetable prices at restaurants and grocery stores within months, some analysts told ABC News. Look, they raise them. I mean, they probably have no reason to raise them in the first place. Not even so much as the tariffs. But a lot of companies will probably do it just to piggyback off of the tariffs and just raise them because, well, everybody else is doing it. All right, so from Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, here is my full interview with Megyn Kelly. Let me know what you think. And this looks like a good one. I'm probably going to watch this tomorrow morning. But Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene on Secrets of D.C., the Israel Lobby, Jasmine Crockett, and the future of MAGA. I think it's going to be a good one. Not a huge fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I don't have a whole lot against her. I mean, she's revealed some pretty bombshell things in Congress, like like how members of Congress can send in a representative on their behalf to vote on legislation. And she also discovered that if they're voting on a bill that you don't either you don't agree with, or for whatever reason, you don't even have to have a reason. One of the members of Congress can stand up and demand a roll call, and every single member of Congress has to be there and present. Anybody who wants to vote on it, because they'll send in a lot of their proxies, or they'll like vote by I don't know what, like not mail, but like vote by proxy, most likely. But yeah, so this actually looks pretty good. It's really long though, dude. It's like 83 minutes long. You know what? I'm just gonna repost it in case you want to check it out for yourself. I'm not a big fan of Megyn Kelly either. You've called women fat pigs. Only Rosie O'Donnell. But anyway, that's there if you want to check it out. So CBP is reposting the Travel State Department's post starting September 2nd of 2025. Non-immigrant visa applicants in most visa categories, including those who are renewing, will be required to attend an in-person interview with a consular officer. For more information, visit our website, travel.state.gov/content/travel. Visa update. So that's happening. And then also from defense news, rather than exploiting Russia's weakness, a drone-centric NATO could be playing to Russia's strengths, some experts warn. NATO beware, drones cannot replace tanks. No, they can't. This comes from defensenews.com. And that's a very interesting looking drone. But yeah, I mean, some of those drones are just absolutely crazy looking these days. As armies scramble to learn the lessons of the Russia-Ukraine war, one question looms above all. Have drones replaced traditional weapons such as tanks and artillery? If you want to think so. But for NATO, the implications are more than tactical. As the alliance struggles to rebuild its long-neglected armies, it faces tough decisions about allocating scarce money and industrial capacity. If robots are the future, then doesn't it make sense to build $500 drones instead of $5 million tanks? No, it really doesn't. I mean, they have their own different uses, dude. Like tanks and drones, they're not exactly the same thing. Not so fast, warn some experts. Replacing old-fashioned firepower with a purely drone force would be a blunder. Quote, there are several reasons why it would be a mistake for NATO forces to rely heavily on massed small UAS, which are unmanned aerial systems, and long-range OWA, one-way attack drones, basically drones that just like fly into the enemy and explode on impact, to replace traditional weapon systems in pursuit of improved lethality and thus deterrence against future Russian aggression, argues Justin Bronk, a researcher at the British think tank Royal United Services Institute, in a recent essay. Rather than exploiting Russia's weaknesses, a drone-centric NATO could be playing to Russia's strengths. Russian forces currently field the most formidable counter-UAS capabilities in the world, according to Bronk. In addition to jammers, modified infantry weapons, and short-range air defense systems, Russian forces have become accustomed to using anti-drone measures such as netting to deflect unmanned aerial vehicles in armored cages to protect vehicles. Quote, in most cases, only a small fraction of the huge volumes of drones launched by Ukrainian forces reach their targets, and a still smaller proportion achieve decisive damage when they do. Indeed, one reason why Ukrainian drones have achieved success at all is the presence of legacy firepower that constrains Russia's ability to maneuver and to concentrate counter-UAS assets. This attrition from UAS has been occurring in the context of a Russian force that is still constrained by minefields and forced to disperse by Ukrainian artillery, GMLRS, guided multiple launch rocket systems, and ATACMS, Army Tactical Missile Systems, Storm Shadow, Scalp cruise missiles, and glide bombs, Brock explained. If NATO forces were to pursue massed UAS at the expense of rebuilding stocks of these traditional fires, Russian forces would find it significantly easier to mitigate UAS lethality than they have up to now in Ukraine. So there's more to the article, plenty more to the article. So if you want to read the rest of that for yourself, you can just check it out in the description. It's defensenews.com. And we're going to finish up with this one from the White House. Hello, TikTok. President Trump, he is on TikTok. Well, at least the White House. It's the White House that's on TikTok. But of course, it's President Trump. I mean, who are we kidding? Who's occupying the White House? President Trump. He's occupying the White House for the next few years. So that will do it for me this evening. So if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. And I'll drop a new show every evening covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. I also repost stuff as I go through things throughout the day if you want to get kind of a sneak preview as to what I'm going to be talking about. You'll find that over on my X at SPAETHON, N at the end. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.